Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Moon Harvest, Amish Earther, Naughty Thumbnails, Mitch Kennedy, Original D Rose, Rod, The Names Burley, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMels24, Unamento, M Iron26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Golden McKinnon, Retro Built, More Books, Cannabear, Fiber Oats, Bogey, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Nealand, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, Tina Baker, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
No one that ever sees me upset or like really upset, you know.
Exactly. My wife's seen me cry.
You know we're recording, guys. Wait, are we
Well, no,
recording?
that's part of the relationship you have with a spouse, though. Like,
Exactly.
I wouldn't let nobody else see me like that.
Take it you're not married,
Yeah,
right?
I get you.
You're not married?
No, I'm not married.
Just haven't
I'm
quite
single.
found the right 7 or 8 women for you, right?
What?
I assume you're waiting to form a harem.
Well, the way I viewed it,
I'm waiting for Nathan Oakley's red pill checks.
the way I viewed it a few years back is, it's the simplest way. It's the
What?
simplest way.
What is? Are you a homosexual?
No, being single.
Oh, just being single.
Yeah.
What do you mean I can't ask people that?
Yeah.
Portler,
Well, I
you're
remember
not
one
normally in
time
here. Do you want to go
I-
and work in the other room? You can't commentate over the top of my shoulder while I'm not being rude. Is it rude to ask someone if they're a homosexual these days?
And it's not something I'd made up my mind like forever, right? But for a time being, I decided like, hey, because it came at a time where I left the job, right? And I was like, well, and life still kept going on, right? Because I was living a simple, minimalistic life. And I was like, well, if I get a girl on this, it's gonna throw that off course, right? I'm gonna need, you know what I'm saying?
You mean you've chosen a course of celibacy, not to be confused with
Well-
Shirley Bassey, which is something very different.
Yes, I don't know. But I just realized it was the simplest way, right? To keep things simple, right? Just like you said, you know, like basically be more time free, so to say, right?
To what?
So-
Find God? Find your path to God? I don't know what that time's for in your case.
Back then it was just kicking back, playing video games. I didn't get to the things of the Lord deeper until later, until I got to FE, right? Then I ran into Mike Helmick, and then I started following him teach God's word, and then I started really growing. And then I started reading God's word regularly, and then I started really growing as a result of that. And yeah. So yeah.
I'm not going to say it's not more simple to not have someone in your life. I'm not going to tell you that's not the truth, but simple isn't always better.
Well, it's how do I put it? I'm not saying it's wrong or anything like that. Even God's word doesn't say it's wrong, right? Remember what God's word says about the situation, right?
What
He says,
situation? I didn't hear the beginning.
I think we're talking about
Right,
being
well,
single, Neil.
yeah, he that
Yeah, well,
can can maintain to be single does better, right? Remember, there's a verse that says that.
that's if he's discipling. That's if he's making disciples of men. That's the work of God.
That's what
Like,
righteous is doing, though,
Saul
isn't
and
he?
Paul.
Right, that's precisely what righteous is doing, though. That's the path he's on, though, isn't he? That's the point of the conversation, Neil.
I'm not saying he's not.
Yeah, but he's saying he is, and that is the point of the conversation. When I've gone, you're not married? And he's gone, well, no. And now he's tentatively telling us about his path to being essentially celibate and finding his way to God. That's what he's telling us about. That's, you asked.
Not finding your way to God. Once you find your way
Those
to
are my
God,
words.
you make
I'm sorry,
disciples of
right?
all
I'm sorry,
men.
Neil. Those are my words, not righteous's.
You out there
I've
preaching the
paraphrased. I'm
gospel?
sorry. My bad.
Anyway, sorry, but I enjoyed that little video you made naming your computer. That was hysterical. My wife got a kick out of it too.
You should. It was
Carry
your
on.
idea. You hear me? I said you should. I get a kick out of it. It was your idea.
Yeah, I know. I wrote in the comments, it's about time you named it. Now you'll see how things ease up. Now, all Righteous has to do is get a girl and name his girl. I won't be kidding.
Well, he's trying to walk the path of the disciple. I think the whole point of that is that he wants to help turn other people to God.
Well, hold on a second.
Well, that's the Great
Hold on,
Commission,
Neil.
though.
Hold on. Go ahead, Righteous.
I may still change my mind and marry, and I can still do the work of God that way still, right? It'll be...
Okay, don't gloat. We know you're a handsome fella. Yeah, I might decide to have a woman whenever the hell I fancy it.
I mean, either
Not
or,
all men can do that, Righteous.
Either or is fine according to God's word, right? But God's word, well, Paul says, right? And this is like, what Paul says. He says, the only reason I say if you can maintain, if you can set your heart on going single through life, it'd be better because you'll have like no distractions, right? But he says if you do marry, you don't sin. You're still fine, right? So you could still do the Lord's work and be married.
So are all ugly ass people?
Hello, most of the
righteous?
men of God are married and do the work of God. All I'm trying to say is this. The Apostle Paul was clear on it, and the most misquoted scripture and misunderstood is it's better to marry than to burn. Because let me explain something to you. If you're burning, you're lusting, and if you get married just because of that, you're bringing lust right into your marriage. So until you can get control of that, doesn't make any sense to be married.
Hang on a second.
It's a whole different thing in the Christendom.
I think it's sinful to be lustful with my wife. Man, I am going to hell.
No. You're married. It's different. When you're married, the Bible's clear that marriage bed is pure and undefiled. Now, let's not get crazy with that, but it's inside the marriage bed. You want to swing off your chandelier dressed as Tarzan and her as Jane? That's fine.
Yeah, that's right.
What? That's a very specific friggin' example, Neil.
Yeah, I was Tarzan already. I know. No, but I had this one guy say this to me, and I'm not saying you Righteous, but you're really not, how can I say this? Until you are responsible for another human being, you're selfish and immature.
Oh, come on.
I'm dead serious. You're not mature until you are outside of taking care of just yourself. When you're responsible for another human being or human beings, that's when you are mature.
Oh, whatever. I used
that's
to
when you're unselfish.
Back when I was single, and I was putting it mildly, shagging around quite a lot, and I had people like that, you in this instance, saying, "Well, until you've got children, you're just not fulfilled. You're just unwhole." You're like,
I didn't say fulfilled. I didn't say fulfilled.
Whatever. You know what you're driving at.
Saying you're selfish. Because you only have to focus on yourself. Until you're responsible to putting food on the table for another human being, another human life, you're just focused on yourself. Unless you're in the ministry.
Oh,
and you're
it's
out
like
there reaching
pissing in the
others.
rain and saying it's like pissing upwards and saying it's raining. Who's gonna shovel shit on themselves and say, "Oh, it smells like shit"?
Try not to swear, please.
Yeah, Gene, we talked about it yesterday. They're tightening up restrictions on YouTube about swearing.
But it's funny how that's the only thing y'all got about it.
Yeah. When 10th Man said it, we disregarded it out of hand for how wholesome he said it should be on this channel. Now that it's affecting my income, don't swear.
The difference between a rap video and yours, like, is there any type of rules on both of them or something like that?
It's all down to ad revenue as far as YouTube guidelines are concerned. They just don't want, or more accurately, the shift of blame, of course, has taken place. The advertisers don't want you swearing and then it cutting to an advert for the new Ford Ranger. That's it. That's all that this comes down to.
The rap video curses.
I don't know what you want me to say.
No, I'm saying, like, is there a standard, like, are we all being painted with the same brush? What are we?
No.
I don't think it's fair.
No, we're
that we
not.
Do
can't
you mean in
cuss within a rap
society
video.
generally, or in this particular instance? Because
No,
the answer in
in
both is no.
YouTube
No,
revenue.
definitely not. Is there a same standard? Yeah, I get the same treatment as Simon Dan. Now, obviously, there's a difference. Go on.
I was just going to say that they're giving artistic license to a lot of those videos, but they still censor them for YouTube if they want them to be monetized.
Correct.
So they get away with more because they're their genre.
Yes, there is a greater degree of artistic license where you can, to a certain extent, get away with a moderate degree of swearing. However, here in the UK, you can buy an album that's been going for years called Now. It's probably available in the States. Can you mute rather than sniffing while I'm talking? Thanks. It's called Now. Now, on the Now album, it is essentially suitable for children. So I play modern music to my kids because I've got Now albums. And they're just radio edits. And what's a radio edit? Well, the swearing's taken out. It's either muted, that is to say there is a gap in the lyrics, or there's a rewind sound sometimes put over the top of it, things like that, to mask the swearing. Because they just don't want it. You know, those parental advisory things that you see on the CDs, they've been there since, what, the late 80s? Well, some people don't pay them any attention, but it's the same as the certificate on a video. And we are, as I said yesterday, might as well be governed by the FTC in terms of how they want it to just become television. They want YouTube appears on everybody's television as an app. So it's just slowly but surely replacing terrestrial television. It's the standard that, you know, well, everyone can just have YouTube. You just need an internet connection.
That's correct. That's how I watch TV, through YouTube. I have
As do
YouTube
most.
TV.
Yeah, most people do. You know, it's massively affecting the BBC because in the UK, there are a few channels that are broadcast terrestrially or via whatever means you get TV, cable, or satellite. And they are funded directly from people who give out essentially a tax. It's called the TV license. Now, if you own a home, they imply that you're obliged to pay this license to watch live TV. Now, obviously, if you're not watching live TV, there's no obligation to pay a license. Not that they'll still pester you for it. But obviously, more and more people have just shunned away or shunned normal live broadcast TV and just gone, oh, I'm not giving you hundreds of pounds. No. So that directly affects the back pocket of the BBC, right? Because that's where they get their funding. They're not a commercial entity.
Can we just recategorize ourselves and say, oh, yeah, this is just a movie script. We're just going over a movie script. All this is fake. Just start every intro saying everything we're going to say is false. This is fake. And then, boom, let's have at it. And then we'll get the same pretty much artistic freedom as the hip hop videos that degrade women and, you know, talk about violence and all that stuff. Have a disclaimer.
I don't know. There's a certain societal reflection in a lot of the music you're talking about. It holds up a mirror to society. Now, it doesn't necessarily matter whether or not the rapper in this instance has or has not actually experienced the things that he's discussing or rapping about, right? The subject matters. So some turn around and say, well, this particular... I'm just going to say this...
They
Go ahead.
say.
Ahead. Joining along while I'm talking ain't helpful, Gene. It really isn't. So then me clearing the airwaves because you've started talking through me, I'm stopped, and now there's completely dead air. Just make up your mind. If you've got something to say, wait, then say it. But if you can't stop yourself from ejaculating while I'm talking, at least when I clear the airwaves for you, just make your point. Just say what you've got to say.
How do I know if you stop talking though?
Because I won't be talking like now. Like when I wasn't talking and you knew to ask, how do I know if you're not talking? Because I wasn't saying anything.
And then we're off.
Look, man, I just want to get to the end of this point, right? Some rappers may not have actually experienced the armed robbery they're rapping about. You know what I mean? They might not have actually dealt any drugs when they're talking about that scene, right? That's what I'm driving at. But it doesn't matter. What they are doing in their art is reflecting what society is for the most part, even if they haven't necessarily experienced it themselves. For a lot of the time they have, but that's a different story. My point is that is a worthy, what did you call it? You're like describing bad actors. But for me, I just see a script of how society is.
All I'm saying is, can we just categorize ourselves into that? Yes, we're artistic expression too. That's what we're doing too. All this is fake, boo. You know, you can't prove any of this just to get in the algorithm, Nathan. We don't need to be, you know, you don't
Can you
need to
rap?
be right. Hell, look
Can you
at
rap?
Man down. You don't
He
need
can
to be
rap.
right. You don't need
Chocolate
to.
can rap. So Chocolate made a rap. And then he crosses into that genre, doesn't he? Immediately. Just by rapping out his thoughts on why would they lie. Making his point through
A
music.
Trojan horse to be in the algorithm.
Yeah.
But would you want to throw dispersions upon the truth just so other people could hear it?
Nope. Let them find it. That's it. We do
Disclaimer,
what we
just a
do
disclaimer.
here, and if they come, we do what we do here, and when they find it, they find it. That's the way I'm thinking from now on. Really, I just don't pay attention anymore. I don't have time or the energy. You find it, we're here.
But what Gene's describing is
YouTube
something
shitless.
is putting it out there in a way that Chocolate's tried to do, which is to say, my understanding of rap, obviously being black, I've got a really good understanding of this. And my understanding is you put out what's going on in your life in a way that's heartfelt. Any music in that regard, I suppose, if it's going to be accepted well. You know, you rap from the heart. You talk about what's going on and what has touched you in your life. Well, if Flat Earth is that, rap about that. And if that has touched you in a way that whatever bank robberies being rapped about touched the person who did that enough to put it pen to paper and then rap about it, then that should be your lot in life to do that, because that will come through in what you're rapping about. Or alternatively, it's any music. If you're singing about it, if you're singing about Flat Earth, some of the songs that people have made about Flat Earth over the years, don't get me wrong, 99% of them are absolute shite. Just the way it is. But there's a very small handful of them that are simply fantastic and will raise the hairs on the back of your arms when you hear them. I can't remember which Adele cover. There's an Adele cover that was released, and it was just absolutely fantastic. Just reiteration of an Adele song with Flat Earth in the title and the lyrics, and you're like, wow, this is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, but you're doing it because you're doing it from your heart, not because you're trying to spread the word, should I say. You're doing it because it's heartfelt, correct?
Yeah. Exactly. That's something I try and... You put it in a way that I can never do, Neil. When I try and say, well, how can you explain to an audience that there's a contradiction in terms of me saying, I don't care if you come to Flat Earth. But what are you babbling about? You got a show about it. Like, how can those two things coexist? Well, because I'm very passionate about it. So I want to talk about it. Now, if you enjoy that, great. But if you find it offensive and want to, disagree, and I don't care. It's like, I don't want to convert you. I'm not your guru. But I'm very passionate about this subject, and hopefully that comes across.
Yes, it does very well.
Right, but if you don't accept that, oh well. It's like if you don't like the rap. What's that? You prefer an orchestra? Well, this is not for you.
Then go to Radio City.
That said, I've heard some fantastic rappers that have used full orchestras. So, you know.
Yeah. That's what they do now. The Cirque du Soleil, right?
What about Cirque du Soleil?
Well, they have orchestras and they do Beatle music to it. I've seen full orchestras to Stuart Copeland and the Police music. Actually, there's my brother sent me a video of Sting sitting there as a guy is trying to do Roxanne horribly or Every Breath You Take, one of them. It's priceless. The face Sting is making. It's like, oh my God, please stop. It's a really horrible rendition.
Yeah, to find full stop a talented musician, just generally someone who's just really, really, really good, is hard. You know, there's not that many really talented people out there. Obviously there is, and we see them, but to narrow that down to really talented flat earthers, you're like, well, you've narrowed the pool from everyone down to a very small percentage, and then within that small percentage you're looking for someone who can sing or rap. You're like, More likely the other way around. But that gets clamped down on by, I think, people like Neil deGrasse Tyson. So, you know, Katy Perry comes across Flat Earth, starts talking about it, and the next thing she knows, she's got a visit from Tyson telling her where she's wrong. So they've got, you know, measures in place that it won't happen the other way around, where random celebrity comes across Flat Earth. They get the Flat Earth police in.
Yeah, he's the leader of the Flat Earth Police. I posted it in Master B. If you wanted to play it real quick.
What if Katy Perry, just by happenstance, had listened to this channel first, and then Neil deGrasse Tyson came to her?
I don't think it would be any less effective, the policing. Do you want to know why?
Yeah, go ahead.
When we put out our information, there's a good select, 20%, maybe even higher, since they've, you know, cobbled this a little bit further, maybe 30% of the audience that, like me, after a couple of nudges, will understand and therefore probably be able to even employ the arguments that get put down here, right? But when even the host takes 2 or 3 attempts to, you know, get these arguments, and I'm hyper focused and running the show, I can only assume that, you know, it takes at least a similar amount of time for your average Joe who comes here who's hyper focused, one of those 30%, in other words, to also get the argument. So by contrast, Katy Perry, she's a musician, right? I don't know if she's still working as a musician and producing songs. It's a long time since I heard a new Katy Perry song, but there we go. If she is, that's what she's going to be focused on, right? So in the same way as one of the random videos that I come across, like, I can't think of any that I'm watching at the moment. In fact, I do. What I'm watching at the moment is stuff about guns and ammo, people firing guns, and some of the, you know, police's actions out in states. So I should plug the channel, because I've been watching so many of these. It's just as a bit of escapism, right? But for me to suddenly understand the intricate details of a Colt, or, you know, a specific handgun, just because I've watched a few YouTube videos, would be akin to Katy Perry understanding the elevation angle argument after watching even 10 of our videos. You know what I mean? So, where's this channel? Active Self-Protection. Very, very big channel. It's like 3.5 million people subscribe to it. But they just cover things like police chases and shootouts, and then people who are defending themselves with firearms. So, just an interesting channel that I've while away the hours. So I'm not
talking about somebody that believes, right? What if Katy Perry watched until she understood and knew?
Okay. Well, then
that interaction. Go ahead.
Yeah, then I think then you'd have a very good case for. I can't imagine the scenario getting to that stage. But if it was the case, then she'd be able to take Neil deGrasse Tyson apart at every point, wouldn't she? That would be what you're saying is, what happens if a celebrity understands our arguments? Then that could be a massive problem. Hence, we need suppressing.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, could you imagine Katy Perry turning around to Neil deGrasse Tyson when he's like, "Oh no, we travel the world as a globe, and we've travelled it as a globe for thousands of years," and she turned around to him and said, "No, all of the maps have been developed based on the celestial sphere and elevation angle measurements of a flat plane, Mr. Tyson." What do you think would happen?
He would probably look like he got hit in the face with a wet fish.
Right.
And then he would try to make the argument personal.
Right. Cut to Katy Perry. Buy my new album!
Well, they'll either get the police in or look what happened to Kyrie Irving. They make him look like he is the most foolish person in the NBA. Every time his name comes up, that comes up, and they link him to other things like the COVID and all that other stuff. So everything the man says now, it's disregarded as he's one of those flat earthers.
Yeah, maybe he is.
Maybe we should be reaching out to him.
Why?
And people.
Yeah.
Well, for people that want to spread the information, who want to try
It's
to
getting
push
ridiculous
this
because he
ship
made a mistake. I'm sorry to talk over you, John. I just completely disagree. One of those flat earthers, the ones that we spend all day moaning about. Yeah, he probably is. Probably get to know Kyrie and find out he thinks there's a bloody ice wall. You're like, what? Where have you got this from? Hey, man, I saw this conspiracy video. And you're like, oh, right. So you are just another one of those flat earth dicks then. That's probably what you'd find out. We find it out time and time again. Yesterday, 10th man put a video under my nose. Immediately, it's got my heckles up and I'm going, wow, what's this? You know, he started off, wow, just see this distant object. Wow, this guy's good. Next thing you know, I've looked up the calculations and we see too far. Oh, God, what a disappointment. You know what I mean? Well, that's for a guy that's switched on and got degrees. No offence to Kyrie Irving, but he's probably got every little bit of feast and nonsense to vomit all over me if I was to go and try and back him up. Just like every other person I've tried to do it with, Dave, Jaron, they all do the same. Spew up some poisonous, venomous, flat earth regurgitation of the feast and nonsense all over you, and as it dissolves your clothes, you're left standing naked being called a scammer. Going, what the hell just happened? That's my experience.
This is what they're getting fed. This is all they're getting fed, the feast of nonsense.
Right. Okay, I don't disagree with the source of the information, but it doesn't change that what he's been branded. It's like, if you're going to go out and talk about flat earth, right, know it inside out, back to front. Like you would if you were going to go in front of a basketball audience and try and, dunk a long shot. You're not going to try and do that if you're completely inept when it comes to basketball. So to just stumble onto the court drunk and then go, oh guys, stick £1 million bet on me, I'll get this in no time. And then you slip on your ass. You're like, what are you doing? Well, metaphorically, that's what he's done in terms of this foray into the flat Earth arena. And while I'm assuming, I have no idea what his rhetoric will be. I'm going to have a guess and go out on a limb and say it's probably feast of nonsense.
Possibly. But if people are wanting to change what the paradigm is, they're going to have to do things like that and reach out, even though you know what and see, Nathan, you still do it too. You still reach out, no matter how many times your hand gets smacked away, you still reach out.
Because he's passionate.
What with the response videos?
No, you just recently reached out to Jaron to try to show him.
Yeah, that's different. I've known Jaron for years, like literally years.
Right. But I mean, if you didn't care, would you have done that?
No, I've already gone through this. The only reason I am doing it is because I care.
Right. So it's just a part of human nature to care about others and want them to know the truth. And that's understandable.
Yeah, but I've got a relationship with Jaron. whenever I say
I was just going to say
it's
that.
in a business context, when I say personal relationship, it's not like he's my lover or anything. What I mean is, I know the guy personally. That's all that means, right? But when you've got that with somebody that's been built to a certain degree over a certain number of years, you build up a mutual respect and you start to care about that person in a personal way. Now, again, there's nothing untoward or sexual or anything that's to be misconstrued in what I'm saying. I'm just being very honest and very open about my motivations, as John's been very forthcoming in his questioning. So, yeah, absolutely. But do I give a toss about Kyrie Irving or Kate Perry? Nope, I couldn't give a crap. Now, no offense, people are like, well, but they're a celebrity. So what? Back when I was a rep selling really expensive gear, my path crossed celebrity paths many, many times. And it didn't, I never got starstruck. There was a job to be done, and I was there doing it. Now, if Katy Perry joined the Discord server, would she get an extra bit of respect because she's already known? Obviously. Yeah? You're going, oh, right. I think this video might get a few more views, therefore she's going to get a bit of automatic respect for that. And you're like, well, that seems a bit fickle. No, that's just how society works. If you command respect, you're going to sometimes get it whether you deserve it or not. Now, I don't know that Katy Perry doesn't deserve respect. I don't know why she's become this example, but it makes no difference. Just ex-celebrity, whatever celebrity we're talking about. Now, it might turn out that that celebrity is a really nice person and supports your cause, in which case, wonderful, what a great ally. Sometimes the person you've built a personal relationship, non-celebrity, turns out to be the opposite. You know, just that's people are people, and you develop relationships as and when they come about. Now, they might be developed with people who have got massive influence in a particular arena, in this distinction, celebrity, right? But unless you've actually built a personal relationship with them, beyond their pull that they automatically get for just being a celebrity, what do you care? The answer is not a great deal. It's very surface level, even for the people who have a massive amount of perceived admiration for a given celebrity. No, that's just surface level too, just unhealthy.
Well, there is that. But then, society, there's like a base level of caring, like we all care, not everyone, but most people care about whether someone else is being, mistreated, or there's that base level that everybody has of empathy. Not everybody, because there are, the exceptions, but most people. So there's not to say a personal relationship, but a public relationship of interactions between people. And to be a flat earther is to be excluded from that. So it's natural to want others to know what you know, because you don't want to be that outcast because of what you know.
Yeah, and I totally do get that, and I totally do empathise with people who feel that way. As much as I rib Neil about it, it's because I want it to be discussed. In other words, that is a display of empathy, Neil, when I'm knocking you about it, as ironic as that may seem. Anyway, my particular empathy, not because I'm a 5%er, I'm not a narcissist / psychopath, same thing, who are devoid of empathy. But my empathy does wane more and more as time goes by for average Joe, who just comes to the subject and immediately recoils and expects me to do something about that, like it's my concern. Like, right, this makes you recoil. Okay. So be it. It's like, I don't have to do anything about that.
Watch the Black Swan video twice and call me in the morning.
I don't even offer that as a remedy.
Good morning.
Morning.
I posted your video for today. It's part 1, part 2, over 2 hours, but you don't have to go that far into it. Just start at the start time, and I'll let you know when it's done.
Start time 6:20.
Yeah, that'll be the start time.
Okay.
He pretty much gives the game away at the beginning, and it's pretty awesome. It's that one guy that I showed.
Okay,
One
so
second,
let's get
sound
started.
check in.
We're going to start with the first diagram. And as we do diagrams, I'll show you what we're diagramming on the globe and how we're looking at the globe. We're going to be slicing the globe in different ways. Sometimes we may want to slice it right through North Pole, South.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, I met a guy yesterday for, since we got 5 minutes left, that's a great story. This is the student that asked me to help him on his thesis that he gave an oral report and a written report on at the end of the year. And only 4 students decided to do that in front of their class. And he was one of the 4 and his topic was flat earth or globe. So I worked with him with gas pressure, requiring containment, elevation angles, and black swan. And he did his report. We role played. I met his parents. Well, wonderful young man. So he invited me to be one of the guest judges. And he had 2 teachers and somebody else, a mother of another student who was there as the 4th judge. And so he would give his report orally to the class and everyone in the room, and parents were invited, so it was packed. And then we, the 4 judges, would comment on his delivery, his content, all that. So this already had happened. And so he said, hey, let's meet for coffee. So I met him yesterday just to catch up. And he was telling me a story that his aunt and uncle were against flat earth because she was an artist and she would always make these paintings using outer space and planets and solar systems. Just, very good painter, and her artistic view was of the universe. So one time at a family gathering, the waitress at the restaurant came to take an order, and he blurted out, hey, don't worry, we're all flat earthers here. And of course, the aunt and uncle recoiled and said, not us, we're not, so they fought it. Anyway, he didn't push it too much. But after he wrote his report, he sent them each a copy. Their response to him was, oh my gosh, I'm going to stop all my paintings. You've challenged me. I've got to research these arguments. They sound very solid. Thank you. So things do happen. So that was quite a good story to see how what he did in front of a classroom now in written form is helping his aunt and uncle to come to terms with reality, and what's been told to them was reality, which is not. No, I must be getting coffee then.
You were a guest judge for.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, he did his report from start to finish, no interruptions from anybody. And then the 4 judges could ask questions. And obviously, I was the only one that knew his arguments the way we argue it here and helped them with the report. And so the other 3 judges, the mother was a bit on the nicer side of questions because she didn't know how to react to all this. But she did get involved. But the other 2 teachers were, well, okay, you do know there's responses to these things that you're just sharing the one side. So they would come from that point of view. And then that's why he asked me to be a guest judge. Then I would say, okay, well, I just heard a question from judge number 3 saying, well, what is this response to that? So I would keep it going until he answered it, the full rebuttal. Or at one point, I gave a full rebuttal because they knew I was connected with him with the report. So that was obvious to everybody. So he had 1 positive on his side and 3 who were just hearing it for the first time, except for the teachers who had read it before. But the solid arguments that he had I kept referring to, what is an experiment, what is empirical, how is it that the model that they show doesn't match our reality, all these different things, because you had kids in the classroom, all kinds of stuff. But he got the parents that were there, his parents and other parents that they invited, they were all flat earthers. So we had a good combination of flat earthers in the audience as well.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Arwin, Neil, 10th Man, Refracted Curvature, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello.
Good stuff. Any evidence? Hello, Neil, for that late response. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge that's a horizon, formerly known as Earth curvature?
No. Every time we address this question, they say it's refracted. I'm changing the subject from an actual horizon to refraction to get away from the fact that, no, we don't have a physical geometric edge. We don't have a globe.
Well, the definition of the horizon debunks the idea that there's curvature.
Oh dear.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Which one?
Bent for the pseudo space-time?
How about just any evidence of all? At all?
I'm not claiming
Well,
it.
you could use it. The pseudo force space is going to have a asymptotically flat plane, and the Newtonian is going to have a deviation from horizontal. So I don't know how that's going to work for them.
That word you just used, asymptotically. Didn't McToon do that with Jaron? What does exactly asymptotically mean?
It appears one way until you zoom out, right? Like you could be zoomed in on a basketball and it appear flat at its geometric obstruction if you zoom in enough. But when you zoom out, it's asymptotically curved.
Interesting. And Neil deGrasse Tyson says you can't get high enough to do that.
Yeah, he says you can't zoom out enough to see curvature
because he doesn't know. He doesn't know what the horizon is. It's the optical phenomenon. It's been debunked as Earth curve. Come on, Get with it, Neil.
Is a phenomenon something happening?
Yes.
Is the horizon a noun?
Yes.
Well, we see it optically.
You see everything optically.
I think what John's
Of
implying
course.
is there's no cause and effect relationship to establish here, is there?
Right.
So what do we call it then? If we can't say optical phenomenon.
No, we can call it whatever you like. Call it a roast chicken if you so desire. The point is, it's not a phenomena. It's not something happening. Is the horizon something happening?
I got a mosquito in my car. Time out.
Fantastic answer.
Obviously, a mosquito in the car is something happening.
Let's just move on. Any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
Well, John and I were talking about his statement. All you got to do these days is just show a NASA video to anybody and ask them to explain the plane. They always refer to a plane. So you're going to need a plane to get an elevation angle. You can't get it from a curved surface.
Well, they infer distance to the sun. So, speaking of angles, any evidence of the distance to the sun?
It's a calculation based on the presupposition, isn't it?
Based on a flat Earth elevation angle.
Yeah, that too. But again, if you assume, like Eratosthenes assumed the Earth was a sphere, then all the shadows are because Earth is curving away and the sunlight is coming in straight. Or
No, you don't know that. You don't. If you think the Earth is curving, you can't know that the rays are parallel because you can't measure the angle from the surface.
true, but that's how they fool people. That's because they're coming into a flat Earth angle measurements and say, how can we make this into a globe? Well, first I'll assume it's a globe, then I'll need to make light coming in straight, and the angle you get at the equatorial plane is the same on the top if I draw a tangent plane, because I can't use that curved surface because it won't give me an angle.
Yeah, but you can't use the tangent plane with a shadow.
I agree.
It's the surface. The shadow's cast on the surface, not on a tangent plane.
I agree, but that's how they fooled everybody.
It's not agree, disagree, though. It just is.
I
Okay.
agree with that too.
So I think this is Tippy Canoe Boats? Is that the name of the channel?
That's a company that sells items. He's just put it under that company. But the guy is a teacher of celestial navigation.
Okay, well, either way, he's got a link going by in the live stream chat right now. So if you want to let this videographer know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, because we're going to be covering their video today. And as always, 10th has picked this out. So it's a two-parter, and we've got timestamps, so we're not going to be covering 2 hours of video. But give us a little preamble, and then we'll play from your timestamps, 10th.
Yeah, this is one of the original videos that I watched prior to dripping celestial navigation with all the members here on the panel and you. I watched this many times over because I'm saying, wow, he's just admitting to everything right at the front. So we're not going to need to go through the 2 hours. I'll let you know when we're done, but you'll know it too because he pretty much has to use the equatorial plane for everything, and he pretty much says so. And then you can catch his body action when he wants to talk about the horizon. He wants to say flat, but for some reason he can't say the word flat. So he uses his arms gesture and, horizon, horizontal. You can tell he wants to say flat, but he can't because of the programming he's under. And we had a snippet of him last week just as a teaser. So you'll see that part again.
South Pole, center of the Earth, just flat slice. Sometimes we'll slice it at an angle. Sometimes we'll try to show the whole globe as a round surface. So different ways, and I'll show you on the globe how we're doing our diagram. The first diagram has several parts to it, though. And I told you 3 diagrams. We're going to look at several aspects of the first diagram separately first. These don't count as your 3 diagrams. They're extra. The first thing I want to make sure everyone is clear about latitude and longitude.
We're all clear about latitude and longitude, because straight off the bat we're talking about a flat Earth then.
All clear.
Admin. So in terms of latitude, you're talking about elevation angle measurements to Polaris and circles of equal elevation based on those ever decreasing angles as you back away from Polaris to its minimum elevation angle measurement, which has also been relabeled in a globe fashion as the equator. Well, these are flat Earth concepts and measurements straight off the bat.
You have to understand latitude and longitude.
And now you'll need a flat Earth for them. Well, if we understand that, why are you holding this ball thing? What's that for?
In order to be able to do celestial. Okay, let's...
So, in order to do celestial navigation, we're going to need to understand latitude and longitude. Okay? Again, why are you holding this ball? What's that for?
Well, he's just trying to illustrate that there's a point source derivative function you can use to change all the vertexes to divergent angles and take the flat plane and apply it to the celestial sphere. Maybe he's just not reifying it.
Here, the first diagram, we're going to look at the globe as though we're poised up in space in satellite right over the North Pole, looking down on the globe. And that diagram will look like this. Because we want to take a look at longitude.
It's just drawn a circle. Okay, so got 2D circle. Go on, John.
I was going to say, he also invokes space. What space is he talking about? Is he talking about just being up in the air and looking down at Earth? Or is he talking about being in a place that can't exist?
Well, excuse the pun,
Space
but...
between his ears.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to give him a bit of latitude in that regard, right?
And how longitude works. There's the Earth.
Not that latitude.
Earth, here's the North Pole right here. North Pole. This would be similar to the equator, looking down on the Earth like that from the top. And longitude. Here's England down here. And Europe, of course. Something over here. America. Or Canada. And North Pole. Longitude, 0 degrees of longitude goes right through Greenwich, England. That's 0 degrees of longitude. And then longitude is quite simple. This will be 10 degrees of longitude. Or let's do it 15 degrees. Let's call that 15 degrees because typically we talk about longitude in 15 degree increments because as Earth spins.
Oh no.
Yeah. I think the longitude is derived from the movement of the sun off a flat plane.
Correct.
Yeah, see, they've reversed everything. So it's the sun moving over a flat plane at 15 degrees an hour, but they have to say it's the Earth turning under the sun at 15 degrees an hour, which then brings in the question of Earth-based Coriolis, which would exist, but doesn't exist.
Step too far, 10th. No. John, please be my guest in regards to, before we get to the assertion of Coriolis based on an axial rotation, before he gets to that, he's got to derive it from a flat plane.
Right. So whether he's asserting that the plane is turning at 15 degrees an hour or the sun is turning at 15 degrees an hour above the plane, you need a plane for either one. There's not a ball in any of that.
How could the plane be turning?
Not really the point, Neil. We're at the absolute cutting edge of this stuff now, right? We are pointing out how every conceptual description of how the world is negotiated and navigated is flat. It requires it to be flat. The derivation to a globe starts being flat and then gets manipulated into the ball. But ultimately, the ball is always surplus to requirements because this system is flat. There's no two ways about this. Please share the show. As I say, if you're new to this might be a bit advanced. But this is basically the the end of your flat Earth road if you've managed to find your way here. This is how the flat Earth became a globe.
May I comment on what Neil said? In celestial navigation, when I talked to a navigator who had a YouTube channel, I said, why do you have to assume the Earth is stationary and the stars are moving? He says, well, because it works easier that way. So there's full of contradictions on their part when they try this trick.
Yeah, they say the same thing when you're in a planetarium.
Spins, the sun moves 15 degrees per hour, approximately. So 15, 30 degrees, 45, 65, 45, 60. So each degree of longitude indicates an angle. Now, the thing about longitude that you have to be careful with is 1 degree of longitude. If you're standing with your feet on the North Pole, you'd be really cold, first of all, but you can walk 60 degrees of longitude in like a fraction of a second. It's only a few inches. So right at the North Pole, 60 degrees of longitude is nothing. It's a few inches at the most. Whereas at the equator, to go 60 degrees of longitude.
So just a few seconds ago, he said for longitude, you're going to need an angle. So he's dead right there.
Exactly.
Longitude is many, many miles. In fact, right at the equator, 60 degrees of longitude, each degree of longitude at the equator is about 60 nautical miles. So 60 degrees of longitude at the equator is 60 times 60, 3,600 nautical miles. So longitude cannot be used to measure distance, except right at the equator, because it varies. 1 degree of longitude doesn't equate to a certain distance unless you're right on the equator. Okay, so that's longitude, and longitude goes all the way around.
Just remember what he just said. Longitude, they don't like to use to measure distance, so they like the latitude. Just remember that for future.
To 180 degrees here, west longitude 180, and east longitude 180 degrees. 180 east, 180 west. Okay, that's longitude. Any questions? No. Good.
Yes. How does this work on a spherical surface if you're deriving it from an angle that requires Earth to be a plane? You described at the start of this description looking down on top of a sphere, but nothing you've described is conducive with a sphere. In fact, it necessitates this be a flat plane, and that's precisely how you have drawn and depicted it, with angles that necessitate it to be flat. So, contrary to your description at the start of this is not looking down on the top of a ball surface, because none of what you just described would have worked, and cannot work if you are dealing with a ball surface. What you were dealing with and are dealing with is not ball. It's flat, exactly as you just detailed. So my question, why did you hold up a ball at the beginning? I asked at the start, why are you holding this ball? We're at the end. Why did you hold up the ball?
Now, let's look at latitude.
Will this be ball-shaped?
And make sure we're clear with that. Hopefully this is review, or just so obvious you already know it. You can fast.
Yeah. What would you say? So obvious? Definitely not. But we definitely know it requires a flat plane now. Thanks to some very learned gentlemen who are beside me right now. Metaphorically.
Fast forward if you want. But pause here for a minute, because latitude, some people have a misconception of latitude that makes celestial navigation impossible. So latitude, the misconception that some people have is that the Earth is sliced like a tomato first through the equator, and then 15 degrees of latitude, 30 degrees of latitude, like so.
No. Nobody here at Flat Earth Debate has that misconception. At all. We understand how the celestial sphere works and how the equatorial plane works. But that is definitely not a tomato slice through a redundant globe Earth that will now be dangling beneath a tangent plane or simply described as the equatorial plane. I don't know, I haven't watched this video yet, but one of the two is going to happen next.
So, latitude, and we abbreviate latitude L-A-T, of course. So, this is what some people think of as latitude. Here's the top of the Earth.
Yeah, we got how it don't work. We aren't those some people.
And you're slicing it like a tomato into...
Right, just in case there are. If your ballers are watching, this is how it doesn't work. I mean, I don't know how useful this is, but he's now detailing how it does not work. Why? Did we come for why it doesn't work? Clearly.
Sections. Here's...
Just so we know that we're right on top of this, right? I'm going to go to 10th band. There we go. Just bring this up. Just so we're ahead of him. Thanks for the slide, 10th. This is how it works. What you're actually going to be dealing with is a flat plane. This is going to be where you're described as standing. Where it says Earth's center, like right below where it says Earth's radius, this is how you'll actually deal with it. Now, what looks like a map on top of it, check out how this diagram has actually got the map visually depicted as the protractor. Good slide. Where'd you get this, 10th? I shouldn't be having asides with you while I'm getting all passionate. This is a great slide.
I've shown it before and other versions of it. It's when you type in latitude origin for Earth, you're going to see slides like this.
Gotcha. Well, when we try and detail it or verbally describe how you're standing in the middle of a plane, this is a cutaway of that section of one circle of that plane. In this regard, equatorial plane. See where it says equator, bottom edge, 0 latitude. That's what this circle is if it didn't have this redundant ball wrapped around it. Because all the ball is your protractor from this point. That's all it is. Because what you're actually looking at with your protractor, the stars. Stars aren't on this map that's been superimposed on top of a protractor. They're out further out into the celestial sphere. That's what you're measuring the angles to. When you're measuring your latitude, you're not measuring out to Italy, or wherever this is, South America. You're not measuring out to land. You're measuring out from where you are, which is definitely not at the center of a ball Earth in hell. You're measuring out to the stars. So this map bullshit is just there to deceive you, because what you're actually dealing with is a protractor and a flat plane. But just so we're ahead of this guy. Thanks, 10th. Excellent timing.
different degrees, 15 degrees sections of latitude sliced like that. Here's the equator. No, that is not latitude. Latitude is not like slicing a tomato. If you think of latitude this way, you can't understand anything at all. So erase.
So scrub that ball idea out of your mind. Now let's have a detailed description of how it works on a flat plane, my friend.
That diagram from your mind instantly, and probably even better not to put it on your paper.
Scrub that ball, scrub it right off the page. Gotcha.
Okay, so scribble it out of your paper. Let's look at latitude, what latitude really is. Here's the Earth.
Flat. That would be a two-dimensional circle. Flat.
Yeah. Keep the blue, that shows up better.
So, why is he muttering about his pen? Did you not want to specifically detail what you've just drawn when you draw a two-dimensional circle on a whiteboard? Because what you are about to detail, my friend, is a flat plane.
Sort of a flat spot there. Well,
a flat spot on your circle? Your two-dimensional flat circle? There's a flat spot that you need to readdress with your pens that you're muttering about.
Well, he ran out of ink.
Very telling. Hold on, 10th. The moment I point out how he's stuttering and stammering about the flat plane he's just drawn, he now holds up his redundant ball. This doesn't look very much like this protractor. I mean, the ball, the globe he's holding isn't a protractor. And the only useful purpose in terms of utilization of latitude when it comes to the flat plane we've depicted on screen, thanks, 10th man, is the markings of a protractor from 90 degrees at the zenith down to 0 degrees at the equator where it says 0 latitude. That's just a protractor on a flat plane. Again, with the holding up a globe. What is this? What? This is an outrage. Already, at the point you asked last time, any questions? Yeah, why are you holding up a globe? Now you've just drawn a flat plane, and again, you're grappling for your globe. No protractor markings on it. It's not going to be slapped on the top like a protractor. That's for damn sure.
So here's the Earth. Now we're looking at the Earth, the globe, from the side.
Not unless you describe squashing it completely flat with all of the maps devoid of any curvature, because that's what your diagram on screen is. Why did you hold up the globe to say that you're looking down on it at the side? Because that would have different elevations, wouldn't it? That's definitely not how latitude works. They're working off a flat plane. The equatorial value being the minimum elevation angle to Polaris. That's a flat plane. Why did he hold up a globe again? This guy's a charlatan.
If he holds it up, Nathan, people are going to think this is being done in a globe.
It
It's
isn't.
a little magic trick.
Well, he isn't. He's about to detail how a flat plane works, so the guy's just a charlatan. Is that the reaction you were expecting, 10th?
No, I expected that because I wanted to comment on the squirming that he's going to do coming up because he can't. He's trying to make it work with horizontal, and you can see it. It's all going to happen.
Let's put in the North Pole here. Let's get a better globe, actually. And then we'll put in the North Pole. Oops. This side one.
Sorry, he just said, let's just do a better globe. No. That is definitely not a three-dimensional globe that you are drawing. It is a two-dimensional circle that is going to be representative of the plane, the equatorial plane, when detailing latitude. You keep saying globe, and it's enraging because that is not what you are doing. You're saying one thing and doing another, you bloody charlatan.
It wants to be flat. I don't know why. We got a problem. There. Bit better.
Did you hear that?
Now,
Yes.
we'll put in the North Pole
Talking about the edge of the circle he's drawing.
and the South Pole and the equator. North Pole here.
No,
South
hang on.
There.
I've just seen this video. Too many times. So he's trying to draw a perfect circle. He's having problem. The pin isn't working, so he wants to change to another pin. You're catching him on the bait and switch here. It's not a globe, it's a circle. And then he says, because he can't draw that circle, he says, I don't know why he wants to be flat. Freudian slip.
Yeah, I heard that.
Equator. Right across the middle. And here's the center of the Earth. Okay, now the way latitude works is latitude measures an angle.
Hands up, all of you watching, standing at the center of the Earth. Anyone? Anyone at all? Anyone? No, nobody's standing at the center of Earth. What he's detailing, we were obviously way ahead of the game because we've got 10th man on the panel, was this. So he's described being at Earth's center. Nobody's in hell. We're measuring in reality angles off a flat plane. And this section is that plane where you will be standing. You are not ever at Earth's center. No, you're just standing on a flat plane with a protractor. Yeah? This is redundant beyond the protractor. Yeah? The globe isn't wrapped around you. You aren't suddenly in hell to get this latitude. It's utterly absurd.
Is it possible he holds up the globe every time he has a cognitive break when he has to use flat plane?
That's what I was fishing for at the time. Yes, exactly, John. Every time he has to disclaim how flat the circle's going to be, he holds up the globe and then describes how, no, it's actually at the center of hell. No, you're not, my friend. You're going to be measuring this angle, aren't you?
At the center of the Earth, from the line right through the equator, slicing right through the equator.
Never going to happen. This isn't reality anymore. You're in La La Land.
Measuring up
From hell, which is where your deceit and lies will end you up.
at an angle.
From hell. No, there are no angles from hell, Beardy Weirdy.
And then we'll call this 15 degrees of latitude.
We will. We'll call an angle from hell 15 degrees of latitude, will we, Beardy? No, my friend. No, we don't call angles from hell anything because nobody's taking angles from hell.
We can measure the latitude.
Can we? That's a lie. We can measure this angle from hell. Let's see you do that, son. Let's see you furrow your way to hell to measure this. Not just an outright deceit, a lie. Not the lie that will end you up in hell. Maybe you'll get your angle when you get there for lying about what we can do. No, I can't measure an angle in hell, my friend. Maybe you'll be measuring it when you end up there.
Here at the center of the Earth.
Nobody's at the center of Earth.
We can measure it here at the
No, we can't.
surface of the Earth.
No, we can't because you can't get an angle from a curve. What are you babbling about? Don't you understand the basics of angles? It's two straight lines. No, you cannot ever get an angle from there, my friend. That's a curve. The one that you said, oh, it just keeps wanting to be flat. What, so you went out of your way to make damn sure it'll never produce an angle then?
Doesn't matter. 15 degrees here.
Did he say surface?
And so...
Well, that curved line that you've just drawn, my friend, that surface on a globe isn't going to be conducive with an angle measurement. Ever.
Latitude is not slicing. It's measuring an angle up from the equator.
So what you're saying is, on this diagram, the equator would be the extremities of your view of Polaris. And where you are, when you describe this diagram, coincidentally matching this diagram perfectly in terms of you saying that you're at Polaris, you're at the North Pole, you're moving longitude at a massive rate when you just spin around. Yeah. Well, that's you just holding a protractor or putting a protractor flat on the ground in that instance. Alternatively, holding the protractor above your head to measure how much Polaris, which is currently above you, will decline until it's at its minimum at the equator. That's just a description of a flat plane. The globe's got sod all to do with any of this. I mean, it's been hijacked and then had it drawn on top of a protractor for some reason in this diagram, but it's got bugger all to do with the ground because that would be down here. That's what you're on measuring stuff. The equatorial plane. That would be a flat Earth, though. So you've got to lie to Glurf. You've got to hold up a globe when you're describing angles from a flat plane. Got to lie to Glurf. That's what this guy's doing. It's deceit.
He's
South latitudes.
actually proving he's actually proving the origin of the vertex needs a flat plane.
Let's see here, it's 45 degrees south latitude. 45 degrees south, measuring an angle.
Nobody's measuring an angle in hell. How many times?
At the center of the Earth, down
Nobody's at the center of Earth.
to the equator, or measuring it on the surface.
What, on that curve? Hello? Are you utterly insane? This curve isn't conducive with two straight lines where you draw an angle. This curve cannot give you an angle ever. What part of this doesn't make sense to you when you tell me how flat it isn't? When you rub it out twice and get a different pen to make damn sure it won't be giving you an angle by making it curve. Hello? Hey, Arthur. Hey, Arthur. Oh, I am having a problem with my microphone.
Hi, Nathan.
Just continue the video already. Hey, there you
45
go.
degrees.
Being late on your mic's going to get you overt racism, I'm afraid, Arthur. That's just how it is here.
That was classic. Good
I'm
one,
fine
Arthur.
with it. I am fine with it.
As long as we're on topic.
It's the same angle. We can talk about it either way. It doesn't matter.
So we can talk about how this curved line's going to have an angle conducive with something that can be taken from the surface as you just lied about. No, you're not a great mathematician if you think curved lines produce angles. They don't.
45 degrees south. Now, latitude, we can talk about it in another way. 15 degrees of latitude is exactly 15 times 60. So what is that? 60, 600, 900 nautical miles. Okay, 900 nautical miles. Now, if you ever wondered why we have nautical miles and why we don't use land miles out sailing, it's because of celestial navigation. Nautical miles, land miles would be really, really complicated to use in celestial navigation because there's no direct equivalent in degrees.
We are all clear that we're talking about stuff that takes place on the surface then. Land or sea, we're dealing with the surface. What the hell was the last 4 or 5 minutes babbling on about angles from hell then? So we're all clear that we're dealing with the surface. Was anybody unclear about that? Because up until this point, I thought we were all in hell. I had to correct it several times and point out that we weren't. But now we're actually dealing with the surface. It sounds like this guy's a con man, bait and switch. 1 minute we're in hell, where this gentleman will end up for his lies and deceit. And the next minute we're actually dealing in physical reality with surface in terms of celestial navigation and land or sea. How has that got anything to do with hell? I am very confused.
Because all the light is parallel, Nathan. All the light is parallel, so they just show you from the center of hell, because you could think of it as that, because it's all parallel, so it doesn't really matter technically, and it'll... I don't know, I'm done.
Yeah, well, from what you've just said, I'll extrapolate on that. You're saying when you're taking your angle measurement to a star from the surface, because you're dealing with the surface, land or sea, you can think about the angle coming from hell. And not just think about it, have it described to you by this guy as being, quote, measured in hell. Now, I'm not a smartest tool in the toolbox, whatever you want to say about myself, but I don't see the connection when he held up a globe twice to the globe with its angle inside it in hell and what he's just detailed about how we get about on the surface. Those two things are massively disconnected.
Just to be fair, all the celestial channels say what this guy is saying. So obviously the source of the lie has gotten to all these YouTubers, and this is what they teach. So they're not critical. They're not asking the right questions like we are. Why are we going to the center if we're on the surface? Can we even measure an angle from a curved surface? How's that possible? They're not even there. They just accept it. Then they get their licenses and they become teachers, and they just keep spouting out the lies they were told.
Blind acceptance?
Yeah.
It might be prepositional awareness. Like in a sphere, on a sphere, to a curve, from a curve. It's just they don't understand what prepositions mean, possibly.
Maybe. Or they do, and they choose to just utilize it willingly because it gets around the problem. And every time you hear him or see him, in this case, holding up a globe, it represents that cognitive break you suggested earlier. Well, on a sphere, to a sphere, in a sphere, on a sphere, who cares? Hold the globe up, this is how it works. Or you could think of it all as flat, as he's just done, and how we deal with it on the surface. Hold on. No, you just described angles from hell.
Well, you said he was a con man. He's the perfect matchstick man.
Miles translate very easily. 1 degree of latitude equals 60 nautical miles.
Well, then it's not coming from hell. Yeah? Then it's dealing with the surface and dealing with the equatorial plane and the angle you measure off it. That's got nothing to do with being in hell, has it, gentlemen?
No, but here comes the switch. Watch.
Simple conversion. And that means since
So with no angles from hell, just on the surface, 1 degree, 69 miles. That's surface flat for part of the angle. So it's really simple when you think about Earth as flat then. He just didn't add the when you measure off a flat plane. He just said when you're dealing with land or sea, and then convoluted that into the difference between nautical miles and statute miles. Okay, Not that it had any relevance to the angle that you were detailing, and it wasn't detailed about a problem on the surface with hell angles. What about the difference between statute miles and nautical miles when the angles come from hell? Does it discriminate about whether there's land above the angle from hell? I mean, we didn't get into that, did we?
Degree of latitude has 60 minutes of latitude in it. 1 minute
You'll need a flat earth to measure these minutes.
equals 1 nautical mile.
So we're definitely dealing with a flat plane, an angle off it, and the measurement in now minutes that you will require a flat plane to do. Okay, we're definitely dealing with a flat plane now. Where did the bait and switch? I didn't even notice where the bait and switch took place. Did you?
Yeah, right
Well-
from the beginning. As soon as he said that first part, he went right into it. When I said, "Here comes the switch."
Well, see, that's the thing. He doesn't realize the celestial sphere is a flat Earth model. So there's never actually a switch that takes place until someone points it out to them, or they.
Agreed.
Oh, right. So, in other words, let's be a bit more kind to this gentleman. He's not a con man because he's blissfully ignorant. But when that switch takes place, the rhetoric allows for it to be so fluid that it isn't even there's no suitcase switch. We have to point out, no. This is the point where he's gone from describing angles in hell. The switch took place during my outrage, didn't it? That's where the switch happened, right? And
Well,
unless I'm here outraged about it, everything goes on and no one notices.
The minute he took you to the center, the globe died. So they're, but because they're holding a globe, and he's got everyone thinking he's at the center of the globe, but the globe is still there because he's at the center of the globe, right? Because he keeps saying that. But no one's seeing that to get that angle measurement, you need a flat plane at the center of the globe. But so they keep putting it in, but you need that flat plane on the surface because that's where the navigator is with the sextant.
Exactly.
Yeah, back to John. In a sphere, on a sphere, what difference does it make?
That makes navigation really easy, and that's why we use nautical miles. So 15 degrees of latitude, 15 times 60 equals 900 nautical miles. So we can talk about this distance in 3 ways. We can talk.
No, you can't, because as you moved your finger over the distance, you curved the line that you drew. Now, if the calculable distance does actually have a curve, then there's an increase in the amount of distance that you would measure in those nautical miles, because those are flat plane measurements based on an angle. Now, curving the surface increases the distance. Shame Brian's not here to elaborate on this a lot better than I am now doing, but the basics of what I've just said holds true. The distance increases if you curve the surface. So no. What you will have to do to relate 1 degree for every 60 nautical miles is have it comport to the flat plane you took the angle from. It's just that simple. We're not back in hell. No. But the bait and switch, the switch is so fluid, we're back and forth. We're opening the old suitcase now. So we're back in hell. No, we're not.
About it as an angle of the center of the Earth.
Let me comment. Okay, so the unit of measure in celestial navigation, air and sea, is in nautical miles. The unit of measure on dry land is statute miles. And basically, they have to have in my research, they have to have a convention after convention to figure out how many statute miles equals 1 nautical mile. And it comes to 1.15 statute miles, okay, which is an internationally accepted number. So the nautical mile was redefined to be exactly 1,852 meters now. So you got to realize the trick here. No matter what the statute mile is, let's say the Roman mile and then all these, okay, so they came out with some mile for a statute mile. It always will be 60. 1 degree will always be 1 nautical mile because they're using a protractor. So, but it has to equate to a statute mile. So if the statute mile, for example, just as a converse here, is 2,500 meters, it will still be 1 nautical mile in the nautical mile units of measurement because it's got to work with 360. And then what's a protractor? Half of 360, right? So it doesn't matter because it has to match a statute mile. So whatever a statute mile is, that's what a nautical mile is. But we're going to use that unit of measurement of hours, minutes, and degrees. That's it.
We can talk about it as an angle on the surface of the Earth, or we can talk about it as nautical miles. It doesn't.
Now, you can't talk about an angle on the surface of the globe Earth that you just pointed to because it won't give you an angle. It's a curve.
Doesn't make any difference. It's all the
It does make a difference because you won't get the angle if the surface curves.
same, basically. Okay, now people may understand that fairly well, but now we have to do...
Holds up the globe for the third time. So right after telling people how surface globe will give you angles? No. No, it won't. Hold the globe up again. Well, what about the globe? You showing us the inside of it, where the angle on your diagram comes from? Definitely not. It's absolutely redundant. Not even redundant. That's giving it too much credit. It's totally surplus to requirements.
Take it one step farther, because this is important. Now, this time we slice the Earth right through the North Pole, the South Pole, the center of the Earth. Just sliced right through.
No, that's never going to happen.
What?
Now we're going to
hang on. It's about to get juicy. Just hold on. This is good.
Should we hold off commenting for a minute or so with his...
Oh, no, he's about to step all over himself. Hang on.
slice the Earth differently and show you that same concept, how it works. We're going to slice the Earth at some completely different angle. Right through, let's go right through North America. Let's go right through North America and Hawaii. North America, we're here in Puget Sound area, Northwest Washington, and Hawaii's down here. Where is Hawaii? Should be there. There. Pretty small. Okay, we're going to slice the Earth right through Northwest Washington, Hawaii, and through the center of the Earth. We can slice the Earth through 3 points. If we add a fourth point, that won't be on our flat plane, our plate that we've created. We can, but with 3 points, the center of the Earth, we always have the center of the Earth on any slice we're taking. Northwest Washington and Hawaii, we can get those 3 points right on a single plane. So now we have the center of the Earth.
So here's his straight lines that he's describing this way.
Northwest Washington and Hawaii, all on this slice. Okay, it's not, there's no North Pole. The North Pole is up off the board and South Pole is down below the board, not on this flat plane. Now, we can do this. We can draw a line out through Northwest Washington, and a line out through Hawaii, and we can measure the angle here between the two at the center of the Earth, the angle from the center of the Earth through Northwest Washington and through Hawaii, and that looks like it's about 24 degrees, let's say. And so we can say at the surface that that's 24.
So when you're measuring your angle in hell through a state out to what? The star that you're actually getting the latitude line from, that would be Polaris in this instance. Okay, well, you're not measuring from hell through the ground, through the Earth, through Washington to Polaris. This is utterly absurd.
4 degrees. And that translates into how many nautical miles? 24 times 60 is going to be 1,200 plus 240, so 1,440 nautical miles. Okay. Any questions about this? We can talk.
Yeah. Why did you hold up the globe when describing measurements of a flat plane that you detailed twice, and then imply that the only globe reference is when you stand in hell, which we cannot do, and measure through the entire radius of Earth, through the state of Washington, out to Polaris? This seems stupid. Especially as you detailed earlier that this was actually in relation to the ground, and then convoluted nautical and statute miles like it had any relevance to these angles. When the angles just deal with nautical miles, that's all we're going to be interested in if we're dealing with angles. But they don't come from hell. They come from the surface. They're useful for the surface. They're applied to the surface. But you're not detailing it in that manner.
Talk about distance on.
Hang on. What he's doing is a trick of the GPs. So the observer has a GP, his ground position, and a particular star used for navigation has a GP for its ground position on the plane that it's being measured from. And what he's doing is in that drawing where he puts it out on the outer edge of the circle, he's projecting it. So meaning, obviously, you can't get an elevation angle without a flat plane. And so that's the equatorial plane. And then where he's got the observer on the globe is really where the star is.
Right. Yeah. It's measured. The protractor is here's you. Here's your protractor, which is now going to be described as the globe, and you measuring through Washington. And here's the star. Now, the star's on the exact same line. So what 10th Man has said is, well, he might as well just call the point that he's pointing at now the star, because here's you on the surface. And you're on the surface, this line being the line out to the equator. Well, that's a flat plane with you standing at Polaris, at the center of the plane, measuring Polaris with its angle with respect to the plane you're standing on. Therefore, Polaris is where he's pointing at. That's not the surface. You're not measuring through the ground. You're not measuring from hell. You're measuring a star from the plane. That's how you establish the angle. That's the angle that you're looking at. You're not looking at anything from hell. You're just looking at a star from the equatorial plane. This is how that's depicted when you draw the globe around the protractor. Here's the exact same plane. Our diagram's much better than his. And there's you standing at what is described in this diagram as Earth center. Nah, you're just standing on a plane with Polaris at your zenith in this depiction. That's it. It's really simple.
On the surface of the Earth as an angle, we can talk about distance.
No, it does not.
As
Not on your globe, it doesn't. On a flat plane, it does. That's where you're pointing now. Where he's pointing now is the only place that you'll actually get the angle. That would be either just on a flat plane or in the center of a globe in hell. I mean, you decide which is more realistic, given that he's gone out of his way to explain that this is being applied to the surface. So the surface is either hell or the surface.
As an angle at the center
of a flat plane.
of the Earth, we can talk about it as nautical miles. It's all the same. And we can do that with any slice through the Earth's surface that includes the center of the Earth. Okay? This is why celestial navigation is pretty simple, because of this, the way we talk about distance. Often we talk about distance as a number of degrees and minutes. We tend to say degrees, minutes.
He literally said it.
Go on, Arwen.
Just amazing how he literally described it, like going through the surface and all that without flinching. Amazing.
When he says any slice, he's really talking about two straight lines when he takes two of those slices to get an angle.
Yep.
Minutes and tenths of minutes. We don't use seconds very much. It's just we're not concerned about that level of action. 24 degrees, 10 minutes. Okay, or 10.5 minutes. Okay? Degrees, minutes, and tenths of minutes. We don't go to seconds. Okay, that's distance and latitude. Now, let's take a couple more concepts, and then we'll get to our first diagram and put all this together into our first diagram. Okay. Let's
Let's draw a flat plane to begin with. Let's see if I'm right.
Oh,
let's look
hold
at
on. Here it comes.
light. Here's the Earth here. Actually, let's make that even smaller. A little bit smaller there. Here's the Earth here. Let's put a satellite up in the sky here. Now, that light from the satellite, some of it's coming straight down. Actually, if you're standing right here, let's put Joe here, standing right here. Here's Joe. He looks straight up and sees the satellite straight over his head. And that satellite light, actually let's put Joe standing, he's lying down there. Let's put him standing up, right there on the surface of the Earth. Okay, there's Joe. Right over his head, he looks straight up.
Why isn't he in hell?
Right over his head is the satellite light. That satellite light is coming down through the top of his head, down through his body, through his feet, and continuing, if it could continue, like a gamma ray or something, that light would continue right to the center of the Earth, like that. Now, if somebody else...
No, he doesn't understand orbital mechanics. He doesn't understand orbital mechanics. It's with reference to the plane.
And gamma rays don't penetrate the Earth like that.
Hold on.
No,
that's not relevant. Go ahead, John.
the angle he's talking about straight overhead is with reference to the plane you're standing on. He doesn't understand orbital mechanics, or he would never say it's going to the center of Earth.
Standing over here, up in Bellingham, Puget Sound area, you're here, that light's coming at a funny angle to you. It's not coming straight down on your head. It's not coming parallel to this beam of light. It's coming at a funny angle. Okay, now, if we move farther out, let's get a satellite that's much higher, or some body that's much farther away. Now, the lines of light are not at such a big angle here to each other. They're getting closer to parallel. Now, let's move this farther out. Let's move this.
With respect to a plane?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Oh, yes. It's always in respect to a plane, as John is showing with even orbital mechanics. Is referencing the plane that you're standing upon. Then he says it's going through you on that curved dingleberry he's drawn and going to the center of the Earth, which is where he initially said all the origins of all angles come from. So now he's jumping from the center of Earth to the surface of Earth with that curved surface where he can't get an angle anymore. But this funny angle lights is the killer. He's about to say something so true, and then I posted some images for you to go to once he says it.
First star.
How can you?
Is
I'm sorry, but how can your plane of reference be at the center of Earth at a place you can't reference? That doesn't make sense. The plane of reference has to be underneath your feet.
It's a totally absurd notion.
Yes.
4.24.
Go ahead, sorry.
Right. It has to be where you can reference. That's why it's called the plane of reference. It's not the center of the Earth. It's what you're standing on. It's what you're referencing it to. It's absurd.
Light years away. 4.24 light years away. That would be moving this point out almost as far as where the moon is. I mean, it's way farther than the east. I mean, it's in my diagram here. We'd have to move this point, for the Earth being this size, we'd have to move this point as far as the east coast or farther. Way out.
Pause. So you see, he's already starting the brainwashing of how many light years these stars are out, so he can come in with his false light is parallel. He's already starting this trick because that's how they've sold it to him. But it's going to get very good here soon.
Now we've got light coming in. We don't have light coming in at weird angles here. We have light coming in from so far away that the light that I see is coming virtually in a line parallel to the light that Joe sees. All the light from that distant body, celestial body, are parallel to each other, wherever we are on the surface of the Earth.
Stop.
All those lines.
Go to the images in Master B of corpuscular rays.
Done.
Okay. The light that I see, he's saying the light he sees is the same as the light Joe sees because it's parallel. What do these three pictures show you? What is it the light we see? Funny angles. We see light at funny angles. We don't see light parallel. One's even got a hotspot, a GP. One of those pictures.
Well, see, those pictures are of glare, right? Because those rays are dependent upon your eye. I don't know if I would say the rays are coming in at funny angles because rays don't exist.
No. He says rays. We don't say rays. He says light coming in at funny angles very soon would make celestial navigation on the globe impossible. That's what he says in a minute. Well, it's impossible to be on the globe because look at the pictures of light coming in at funny angles.
Light are parallel. Now that's a bit of an approximation, but they're so close to parallel that we can assume that they are parallel.
I had a question about the
So that's how
corpuscular rays, or actually a comment, because a lot of the discussion in observing things includes perspective. So that could be used as an argument against the corpuscular ray diverging.
Excuse me? When it's afternoon, I have long shadows because the sun is lower in the sky. So it's casting a longer shadow of the tree when it's directly overhead of the tree. And it's an angle. So I live on a flat plane. So what's your point?
Well, so the angles get longer.
Did you say angles?
Yeah.
Okay, we're on a flat plane then. And he's going to say that if light comes in, he says in a minute, that if light comes in at funny angles, celestial navigation on the globe is impossible. Can we just hear him say that?
Light from the sun, the planets, the stars is coming down to the Earth, parallel lines. If you think of the light as coming from a point that's close to the Earth at funny angles, all these different angles, celestial navigation absolutely does not work. Or you'd have to correct.
He didn't say it doesn't work on a globe. He says it doesn't work at all. He's wrong.
Well, he's been holding a globe.
Referencing a globe the whole time.
He's been referencing a globe the whole time, so we know what he means.
Exactly.
He's literally pointing at it being a globe on the whiteboard as he's saying it, to be fair.
For the angles, and that is something we don't want to have to do. The only time we correct for this angle, we call this parallax, the only time we correct for it is with the moon. The moon's not quite far enough away to assume it's infinitely far away and the beams of light are parallel. With the moon, we make a simple correction and say, well, it's a little bit too close to make this assumption, so we're going to just nudge the numbers. The table does it for us. We'll just nudge the numbers a little bit to make a simple correction for that. But overall, celestial even with the moon.
Adam, if you could talk, bad moon. What was that argument you and Brian talked about?
Bad moon shadow.
Bad moon shadow.
Yeah, the full moon on the sundial gives you the same shadow as the sun, which is 93 million miles away in their model, and the moon is 250 some thousand. So goodbye for that argument.
Oh dear.
But parallax requires a flat Earth.
Correct. Talking about the measurement of the difference between the angles off a flat plane.
Well, he's given us that flat Earth. It's the center of their sphere, which is flat. He's given us that flat Earth. Everything is referencing a flat plane, as John says.
Moon, we make this assumption first that the lines of light are parallel, and then we make a slight correction because that assumption, the moon's a little bit too close for that assumption to work perfectly. Okay, parallel lines of light. Now, let's actually leave these lines up here. Some of them, 2 of them, that's all we need. Let's leave those 2 lines up here, we'll get rid of this. Now, we're back to 7th grade. 7th grade. And yes, you do need a little bit of geometry. This is the only geometry you need, right here. Probably the simplest part of geometry. First thing you probably were told in 7th grade in geometry.
Please. Okay, here it comes. All you need is geometry, simple 7th grade geometry. Just remember that as he goes, and he gets that cognitive headache when he tries to describe horizontal.
If you have 2 parallel lines, and you have a single line crossing those 2, what can we say about the angles? Let's say this angle here is x, or 30 degrees. Looks like about 30 degrees. Okay, so that angle there is 30 degrees. Big question. What is this angle here? Is this these 2, one line crossing another line? This angle is x, then this angle, yes, you're right, x. This is also 30 degrees. Okay, now the big question, the really big question. These 2 lines are parallel. This is a single line crossing those 2. What is this angle here? What is that angle? Okay, you got it. X. 30 degrees.
How do we establish parallel lines on a globular surface? Anybody?
Well, that's why he didn't draw one. That's why he didn't draw a curved surface, because you can't get angles from one. This is a killer, what he's doing here, to be followed with a statement that's a killer.
And now the final question, and this is all we need for the first diagram to understand the first diagram, which we're getting to in a second here. This angle here is the same as that angle, which is the same as that angle, which is the same as that angle. So this is x equals 30 degrees. Now, maybe you've already jumped ahead and put all these little diagrams together into a single diagram, and what I'm about to show you, which is the first diagram of the 3 diagrams you need to understand celestial navigation. Maybe you've already combined it all in your head and it's like, oh, I see it, but maybe not. It's no more complicated than what we've just seen, putting these several different concepts together. Okay,
as he's erasing angles that came from straight lines, no curved lines. Just remember that.
Really what celestial navigation is about. And I get excited about it because it's such a neat thing. It's fairly simple, but it's giving you a position on the face of the earth within half a mile based on celestial planets that are so far away, we can say they're infinitely far away. Many, many light years away, some of the stars that we use for celestial navigation. Or the planets not quite as far away, or the sun 8 light minutes away.
All of these assertions are mathematical derivations of flat plane measurements that give you things like radial values, that give you orbital motion. John went through orbital motion earlier, but none of these assertions make any sense when you understand where the derivation came from in the first instance, specifically the R value, Earth radius. That's where he gets all these distances. You're going to need a flat plane for that.
Pretty far. So it's a neat subject. It's really fun. It's really cool. You can understand it. You can grasp it all and be an expert. Really, in this one session, you'll understand it. Okay, so let's take a look at what we're doing. Here's the Earth. Again, there's the Earth. Now let's make that a little. Let's give ourselves a little bit more room. Okay, and this is where you want to be putting this diagram on your paper as I draw it, because that's the only way you'll really understand it. Just looking at it is different from drawing it. Okay, we're going to move this diagram over just a little bit here, so we have a little bit more room on this side. Okay, now, this time we're slicing the Earth. Again, let's slice it, let's be consistent. Let's slice the Earth through Bellingham and through Hawaii. We're going to slice it at that same angle and through the center of the Earth. Okay.
Why? Why are we back in hell? Oh, I'll tell you why. Because we're going to be dealing with the equatorial plane. That's why he's just detailed it. And standing on a flat surface, as depicted in this diagram. And we're going to be measuring our angle from the center of this slice. Well, no, we're never standing in hell, but we are standing on what's going to be described as the equatorial plane, measuring out to stars. So we're on a flat plane. We're not slicing up a globe. We're not standing in hell. I'll say it every time he covers this and does the bait and switch. He may not be aware of it, but we are.
So we'll get the center of the Earth on there, right there. This is me having just sailed off the coast of Bellingham, Seattle, sailing out through the Straits of Juan de Fuca, out to sea. And I'm trying to get to Hawaii. Hawaii's farther down here. So we slice the Earth at a funny angle.
Is that what you do, navigators out there? No? Nobody's slicing up Earth? Okie dokie.
We haven't got the equator on here. We haven't got the North or South Pole. We've sliced it through Bellingham, through Hawaii, and through the center of the Earth. Okay. And so we've made a flat plate, a flat drawing. Here I am, just offshore, off the coast of Northwest Washington. Here's Hawaii, and here's the center of the Earth.
Pause. All this language is going to be said by me to how they're doing the trick. So we've made a flat plane, straight lines from the top of a protractor to the baseline of the protractor.
3 points. We can always get 3 points on a flat plane. Okay. Joe happens to be in Hawaii already. Here's Joe standing in Hawaii. Okay? He's waiting for me there. Actually, maybe we should have that be a female. Anyway, more incentive. Anyway, we'll call it Joe. And Joe is here. Let's draw a line out through Joe. That's not a very good line. Here's a line out through Joe. Now it so happens that Joe looks straight up and sees a bright star above his head. Right above his head, straight up over his head. That starlight is coming down through Joe's head, through his feet, and would continue down through the center of the Earth, to the center of the Earth, like that. Now, if I'm up here in Bellingham, that star is not going to be overhead for me. If overhead would be up here. It's going to That starlight is coming in parallel lines. So it would be coming in at this angle here. So this line of light from the same star that Joe's seeing dragged overhead would be parallel to this line of light. Okay? Parallel lines. Now, let's just add one more line coming from the center of the Earth right out through where my position is. Here's my position.
Quick comment on that.
Okay.
But he's just admitted there that when he's doing celestial navigation, where we're trying to get the point that these lines meet. What he's just demonstrated there is that when you try and do this on a ball, to be able to use the geometry of the ball and use these elevation angles you've obtained from a flat surface, when you transpose it onto the ball, your lines never meet, as he's just admitted there. They go off into infinity, never, ever meet. Now, you don't want to go into that because it's kind of negating the principles of celestial navigation. He wants to describe how they're parallel. But if they're parallel, they never meet, ever. There isn't a point of convergence. So how are you using it, a non-point of convergence, to define your position? It's where their rhetoric falls away from the methodology of celestial navigation here.
Okay, that's the start of your diagram. Try to get that on the paper. Center of the Earth, Joe here with the star right over his head, the two parallel lines of light coming in. Make sure this line of light and this line of light are parallel. And then this line is just a line from my position down to the center of the Earth. Now, when we shoot a star, when we use the sextant and shoot the star, we're shooting the height of the star above the horizon.
That's an angle off a flat plane. That's not what your diagram shows.
So we take it and we get the angle that we look out at the horizon.
Not off a globe, you don't.
And then we look at the star and we see how high the star is above the horizon.
Yeah, his hands are making two straight lines. That's because that's what an angle is. If his bottom hand is the surface of Earth, it's got to be curving and won't be an angle. Hope everybody's 100% clear on that in the audience.
Did he say you see how high the star is? So he's talking about getting the height of the star?
The elevation angle.
Say it's pretty high. Let's say it's at like 50 degrees. The star is up about 50 degrees above the horizon.
You'll need a flat Earth for that.
What is our horizon?
The apparent position where the sky meets the ground or sea.
Here's the starlight.
You know,
What's our horizon in this diagram?
What? Well, depends, really. You talking about a horizon from hell? A horizon from a curved surface in Muppet Vision? I mean, if you're that dot... obviously, you've got a more important point to make. Go ahead.
Sorry, I thought you stopped, which you did. How could you have a horizon on a globe? It's an impossibility. We went through this yesterday on QE show.
Well, think of the horizon as a pretty clear word. Horizon, horizontal. Everything that's horizontal is...
Boom. So you've described an angle to the horizon and told us how that represents the world. In respect to the angle, it means horizontal. So we've got a horizontal flat plane with an angle being taken from it. Okie dokie.
That's what the horizon is, horizontal. Vertical is straight down to the center of the Earth. For my position, this...
Is it?
This line represents vertical. So that's a vertical, straight down to the center of the Earth, straight down through my feet to the center of the Earth. That's vertical. Horizon is horizontal.
No, because that would mean that every single vertical had a different horizontal with respect to the position you're on a sphere surface. And you can't establish horizontal on a curved surface. That's not possible.
Vertical and horizontal are always perpendicular to each
Not on a globe, they're not.
other. So if I want to add the horizon to this diagram, I just need to do a line that's, see if I can do a straight line here, a line that is perpendicular.
Whoa. So you're saying the horizon is represented by this line? No, that's a tangent to a sphere. Meanwhile, if this is, as you suggest, representative of the horizon, I defined what the horizon was before you segued into this tangent. And my definition was the apparent position where the sky meets the land or sea. Now, I'm pointing at a line that he's just drawn. Riddle me this. How is this in any way representative of what I just defined? How does this that I'm pointing my mouse at now represent the apparent position where the sky, where's the sky? Is this the sky? All of it, is this all sky? No, this is sky vacuum, right? Space, right? This would be a 10 to the minus 17 Torr sky vacuum. So is sky under and over this line? Because that breaches the definition of a horizon, doesn't it, sir? So how does this line that you've just said, if we want to draw the horizon, what the apparent position where the land meets the sky or the sea meets the sky, that isn't what you've just drawn. This is absolutely, totally misrepresentative of what a horizon is to me. How does anybody on the panel get horizon from what this gentleman's just drawn?
Absolutely not. And QE broke that down yesterday when he broke down the definition of curve and the definition of horizon. Totally antithesis.
I haven't actually watched
Curvature is
QE's
a
show,
slope,
so
a
great
rated
minds,
slope.
great minds. I actually came up with this 2 weeks ago.
Okay, all right, great. All right.
I told you.
So
Okay, I'm not. Okay.
So is
all right.
is Jaron listening? Is McToon listening? This man just said you need perpendicular. Since you can't get it on the sphere, what they do, they draw a tangent plane arbitrarily. They just draw a flat plane to get perpendicular. So you need perpendicular 90 from a sphere, which you cannot get. So you have to draw a tangent plane to get it. So you just negated the sphere when you did that.
Why is he drawing a 90-degree to an imaginary line that doesn't represent the horizon off a curved surface when assuming that he's got a line through his zenith to hell? Go ahead, John.
He's denying what they call earth curve mathematics if he's saying that he's drawing a line to surface level and surface level is curving. In earth curve mathematics, it's not. It's level is a horizontal plane. So he's in trouble.
He's also fudging it, isn't he? He's not doing celestial navigation. He's trying to use the elevation angle you'd get from doing celestial navigation. And he's trying to force it onto a ball. And this shows, see, what we would do is we'd use the horizon to attain a level. Now, he's not making that claim. He's claiming that his horizontal is just perpendicular to his plumb line, which goes to the center of the earth. That's not what you do. It's not how you set up your sextant. It's not how you take that elevation angle. You don't set up a plumb and then assume a perpendicular to that. You use the horizon to attain a level. And just to add on to QE's bit, that horizon is horizontal, meaning the rate of change of slope is zero. The slope is zero. It's a horizontal line, which therefore is not commensurate with the surface, which is what he's claiming.
Yeah, exactly. This
Oh,
tangent
dear.
line that he's drawn out doesn't represent the horizon, but that's exactly what he's utilizing it for to give him 90. Well, therefore, this is surface level, exactly as drawn in Earth curve mathematics, and surface level isn't the Earth curve depiction below it, because that's not the surface anymore. And what he's actually utilizing and drawing to make this work is a flat line. But that is surface level. Definitely not horizon, as he described.
And that line just barely touches the surface of the Earth, right where.
There you go. Just barely touches the surface. No, it doesn't touch it at all. It's a tangent point. Single point against a sphere isn't going to give you a marked with an X labeled horizon below surface level when you've just described how this line is representing the horizon. Surface level. Okay, so this is surface level, then this line, the only thing that's useful in this entire diagram. But marked with an X labeled horizon below surface level is what you've got in your Earth curve maths. That's a massive problem.
Where my feet are. And that is actually my horizon. It's actually my horizon.
Boom, he said it again. Just do that one more time.
And that line just barely touches the surface of the Earth, right where my feet are. And that is actually my horizon.
So if that line is your horizon, then marked with an X labeled horizon in Earth curve maths isn't your horizon. It's just that simple. Earth curve maths debunked. Simultaneously, that's the black swan argument, by the way.
It's actually my horizon.
Ahead.
Go to the image I posted of a screen capture of his presentation of the.
Yep.
This, he destroyed his own argument right here when he drew this.
Right. This doesn't
Where's
work
the
with
curve?
reciprocating zenith angles.
Where's the curve?
There isn't any.
There isn't any curve ever.
I'll get a couple more minutes of this.
No,
If
you're
my
almost
eye
down.
level
This
is down right at.
Go ahead.
You don't need to go much more further. Just play what you want. We're done. The rest of it, it's let the audience go watch it. But he's done himself in at this point. This is all I wanted you to do anyway.
Water level. This is a minor correction when I'm up in the cockpit of my boat and my eye might be 8 feet above water level. There's a minor correction because then I'm looking down on what the real horizon is. I'm looking
down based on water level at the horizon because you're above the land, which is what gives you your horizon, as I correctly defined. It's the apparent position where the sky meets the land or sea. That's your real horizon. It definitely ain't below surface level as in your diagram here, though, because you've drawn out a tangent plane, told us how that's representative of the surface, how that's going to give you your 90, or so you can transpose the angles to hell that apparently we were standing in earlier.
looking down, and the horizon's a little farther out.
Dead.
You can't have a horizon on a globe. It's game over again.
It is. Right, any last remarks on this?
Locally flat?
No, it's got to be flat in terms of the equatorial plane as well, Arwin. So no, not
See,
in this
Owen,
instance.
Owen, the funny thing about a sphere is there are no flat surfaces on a sphere and no horizons.
Yeah, but it's almost flat. It's just so big that it's like as good as flat, right? Locally flat. Just it as a sphere. Oh, damn it!
Yeah, I forgot to check and make sure I still have a channel. Hold on.
Why you been calling people crackers again?
Somebody used the N word yesterday.
Soft R or?
I can't recall. I think it was a hard R.
Oh dear. And you're done for.
No, it was an A. It was an AH. I said it.
Okay.
Yep, I still have one.
Oh, that's
Shockingly.
good. Jolly good. I didn't get to watch your show. I'm really sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah, I joined in my internet.
That's too loud. What I said, Nathan, was it doesn't matter. You'll come in, grab onto it, and take possession of the argument like you always do.
Yeah, we hope everybody does that, Neil.
No. You'll say it's yours.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Thanks for that,
That guy
Neil.
had a pretty big tangent, didn't he?
Big tangent. He had a horizontal that he called a point at his feet. Horizontals aren't points. Horizons aren't points, and they're definitely not at your feet. And you can't have a horizon on a ball tart. He's finished 6 ways from Sunday.
I said it twice.
Well, then it's
Said what?
basically law.
You
Say again?
can't have a horizon. You can't have a horizon on a sphere.
Duh.
Remember when they used to say, "There's no way you can have a horizon on a flat Earth"?
They were merely projecting.
Yes. Projection, Neil.
Seems so.
What they meant is you can't have a physical geometric obstruction on a flat plane that I confused with the horizon. That's what they meant.
Just give those kids pairs of symbols and be done with it already.
They're like you when they ain't had breakfast. I'm working on it.
Get them a set of drums. So it's basically over again for the 5th time.
Thank God they keep respawning.
He could have used a curved triangle.
Doesn't exist. Every which way they turn, there's a flamethrower. Gotta be, because it's a lie.
So curved triangles don't exist?
Nope.
Well, what do they call that then when they make a shape like that?
They can call it whatever they want. It's just imagination land. They ain't getting any measure.
Don't they just call it a curved triangle?
No,
I mean,
it's quadrant.
not usable or anything.
That's a paradox. Look up the definition for triangle. That's a law of identity violation.
Right. And you're using the radius to bisect that quadrant. So if the angle is not
Your sound is terrible. Sounds like your mic is at his last legs, Refract Gertie.
Nathan, I didn't mean to take credit from you. I was just speaking about what I was aware of. So, for the record. In regard to the curvature definition, I was just overwhelmingly impressed by Paul Buster's show yesterday. When he broke that down, first thing came to my mind was just to say, Huey brought it up, but if you said it 2 weeks ago, that's fine and dandy. Nonetheless, that old man is crazy. He would never navigate even my child's remote control boat down a curb puddle. He's stupid.
Is Is he like related to Bob the Science Guy? Because it just looked like Bob the Science Guy that grew hair all of a sudden to me.
No, he reminded me of the guy that does the painting. Look at the little brushes in the clouds. Little brushy,
Bob Ross?
little brushies.
Okay.
Guy with the 1970s afro?
Yeah, like he cut his afro and tried to, or his big brother or whatever. But I've never seen that demonstrated with the parallel rays. When they took the parallel rays and break them down to angles and try to make that seem like that's what they were talking about with celestial navigation. That's like totally far left from what we know celestial navigation is about. That was a new one for me.
So, yeah, but even with the parallel rays, you're still taking the angle from the surface. Like it's kind of like a red herring.
But he erased the surface. That's the thing. He erased the surface and used the horizontal for the parallel rays as the horizontal. Like that was the surface. He made angles out of that. He just alleviated the whole Earth curve and started working on the parallel rays, these abstract parallel rays that are not the surface. That's what I'm saying. That's how cunning and conning and disingenuous it was.
What parallel rays?
The ones he drew on his diagram, not in real life. I'm talking about, that's why I said, on his diagram. That's where he started building these angles, these 30-degree angles.
Right, but all of celestial navigation uses that because if you're going to go to the celestial navigation books that show you pictures of spheres and all the angles, it's all coming from the center, and they need parallel rays to deal with the curved surface. So they're all doing that. This wasn't new information.
Well, see, the shadow is where you're going to get the angle for the rays, right? When you reify that differential between the tip of the shadow and the top of the object from the flat plane. And then you're going to talk about how, well, that could actually work if it was a sphere and the light source was just really far away. But you wouldn't be getting the angle to begin with to make the claim. It's just nonsensical. It doesn't deal with the problem.
The information coming from this show is second to none.
Thanks, Neil.
And I do agree. I mean, where's another show like this?
Well, that's why we got to be called scammers and things like that, because certain people can't handle it. They want to be everybody's guru. When that's not what we're doing. We're just putting out information.
Now, we're putting out deadly information that other channels that want to be like us don't want to use because they want the argument to go on and on and on.
Yeah, but it's like, it doesn't make sense to me because you're already popular. Just jump on board and you will be bigger than ever.
Why?
Maybe that's why Nathan wanted to make sure Jiren had a proper handle on it. Now I can see, but there's something going on. Well, if they don't want no part of it, there's something really wrong here.
Why? When you could sit next to McToon and say, oh, so you just draw a tangent plane and it works on a sphere? Okay, well, that negates Nathan Oakley's channel.
But what has it got him? It's backfired on him.
Yeah, well, who cares?
What they got is the perception of an argument. They don't actually have arguments. They have the perception of arguments. And what it seems like people want is to hear people argue. That's why most people are here. They don't want any resolution. They don't want to understand it. They just want to hear people yell back and forth.
Every time I see someone draw a tangent plane, I say, you're done. You just lost. You can't work with your curved surface, prove it by that. Well, I can't. I need a tangent plane. Well, then you're not working with a globe then, are you? It's over. It's so simple at this point.
It's just by that two-part word you said, tangent plane.
Yeah, that's what makes you think it's so simple, right? The way you break it down. So why is it so difficult for others?
I didn't break it down. This guy today broke it down.
Now, you know what I'm saying from the beginning when you started bringing out the information in the pre-show.
It's
Like-
hard to get out of a cult. Your relatives are in it. Their relatives are in it. One of your nephews is going to astronaut school. The other one is this. It's hard to get out when the whole thing is a cult.
No. I'm talking about the Gerans of the world and the Weisses and everything.
Well, they have personal
I'm talking
issues.
about right?
They got personal issues, and one's on a boat, the other one's looking at his numbers.
They're both monetarily incentivized. Period.
Well, think about it,
At their
Neil.
numbers when Nathan has more numbers. That makes sense.
Well, hold on. No, is there more pain relief? Is there more pain relief to come to this show and hear information that destroys your belief, or get pain relief from going somewhere where somebody's making a baseless assertion and you can attack them on that baseless assertion? Where do you think you're going to go? Right. So the feast of nonsense can pay off for you as a flat earther. There's like not a lot of money in the truth these days.
I love it. Perfect. Yeah, who wants to go to a fight when it's a KO in the first minute of the first round when you want to see the whole fight?
Well, I don't know. Mike Tyson was a big draw, knocking people out in 1 or 2 rounds. So it depends on the person doing the damage. And we're like Iron Mike Tyson.
No, it's not even like that, Neil, because they're knocking themselves out before they get to the ring. It's letting people down. They want them to get in. They want us to get hit at least.
Yeah.
Well,
let me expand on John's analogy because I think it's a very good one. But it's more akin to when there's a decision made by the ref within the first 20 seconds of the match. So you settle down, ding, ding. You just go, oh, great, it's just starting. Just shifting your seat slightly. You glance up and the ref goes, it's all over. It's all over. You go, what? What? Now, what the ref has seen is the guy's arm break. Yeah? In fact, he heard it snap. You didn't see it. You didn't see a single punch getting thrown. But the ref has said, this fight's over. Now, you look at the opponent who's got the broken arm and go, what do you mean he's lost? It looks perfectly fine. What's going on? Now, that is what happens here. They come on, and the expectation is, oh, what's the argument today? Coriolis. Oh, this will be great. 2 hours back and forth with them getting really angry about how they're redefining Coriolis deflection. No. John comes in, puts the guy in a sleeper hold, and puts him out instantly by pointing out how you'll need a flat plane to get the axis. Bang, guy's arm's broken, fight's over. The crowd, who's only just started cheering, look at the ref and go, boo. Why have you stopped it? Because his arm's broken.
Yeah, because he's got to protect him. You don't want the guy to hurt himself.
But what the guy with the broken arm wants to do, what does the guy with the broken arm want to do? I'll bite your legs off.
He wants to keep fighting.
I'll bite your legs off. It's like the Black Knight.
Well, in this case with Tyson, it's the ear, not the legs.
And that's usually the case too, right? A guy will be out on his feet and he'll want to keep fighting, and the referee's going, no, waving his hand. You can't even walk to me, and his legs are all wobbling. But he's yelling at the ref for stopping the fight.
Well, let's take it even further. Let's say the cult, the heliocentric globe anti-flat earth cult, is the disease. Okay? Abstract disease. And we are the inventors, the chemists, the scientists that come up with a cure for it. Now, the disease has been making money for the whole system for the longest because it's had people putting fundraising, donating charities, donating to science, getting grants and federal funding for the research on trying to solve this disease. However, the disease doesn't really exist, and it could be taken care of because of vitamin C to take care of the scurvy, for instance. Okay, we are the ones that came up with that. So they're going to have their little minions, whether it be pathologists, whether it be whatever, everybody in the medical that's going to fight to try to make it seem like we're totally off track, we're absurd, we don't know what we're talking about. Because if we cure this disease with a simple orange or with a simple thing that's going to be helping the world to be able to get away from this affliction, they lose money. So you got your Gerons, you got your Dave Weisses who convolute and obfuscate and try to act like we're trying to. Just use this, use that. But guess who makes money off of this and that? It's the same ones who are perpetrating the fraud that there is no cure for it. That's how I look at this whole thing.
And how he says science proves it, right?
They fake it. Yeah, science says this and science says that. And we've done scientific studies and it says this and this and that. And we're like over here, bruh, I got these oranges over here. And it's going to crush everybody's pockets. Heliocentrism and this globe thing is big money, man. Big money. It's a big money that's living off of a fantastical hope, wish, and dream that a lot of money is being invested in and everybody's making money from. And we are the enemies of that.
So, D Rose, are you saying that with Jaron, it's never going to get to a boiling point?
Never. It won't even simmer.
Not as long as he only uses an oven.
Well, just to go back to Nathan's analogy, with Jaron and McKinnon, right? That was 15 rounds. You got your money worth for that one, even though it was pantomimed and it was a crappy fight. There was no technical anything to it, but at least you got your money's worth. It was the whole thing.
That was a fixed fight, though. That's even more enraging.
Yeah, but you got your money's worth, didn't you? It was a solid 2 hours, right?
Yeah, but once you find the fix was in, and the fix was in.
Was it?
When he sat across from McToon. Yes, it was. Come on. He pandered to that piece of shit. Agreed with him. Instead of coming here, finding out what the hell's going on. No. Sits down and agrees with him.
How easy would it have been for Jaron to say, McToon, why are you drawing a tangent plane? Why aren't you using the curved surface of the Earth to get an elevation angle? Just one question. That's it.
It's easy as giving a guy with scurvy an orange.
Well, that's more appealing, though.
But see, the people tuning in to watch that, they tuned in to watch 2 hours worth of them going at it with each other. You're not getting that here no more.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we'll catch you mañana. Good show, Nathan. Good job on the breakdown. This guy just keeps droning on in that video, but the main parts were at the beginning where he destroyed himself, and you caught every bit of it.
Yeah, good choice of video. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. All right, take care, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.
See you, Ted.
Laters, mate.
Was it a good show yesterday? Like I say, I didn't get to see it, QE.
Yeah, except the part that I ruined.
You ruined some of it, Neil.
Yeah. I thought it was a good show. I thought it was a good point that we went over. I don't know.
I thought it was one of your better shows, QE. Good job.
Huh. I'll definitely check it out.
Bet it gets a bit militant feminist, but
She had my wife going with that too. You guys, I gotta leave when that stuff starts going on.
I think Betty and QE, like, they contrast and go together well, their personalities, it's entertaining.
Well, it's very, very simple. I just took the Horizon back from the Baltards. They can't have it anymore. It's mine.
Take it away from Brenda then.
Brenda, you can have the Black Swan. We'll just take the whole fucking Horizon. How about that, Brenda?
No swearing.
That's where.
I was saying funk with the N.
Like somebody told me once, like a good way to control your language is to just pretend that like your kids are around, you know.
Haha.
Opens mic, child screams.
That's where the bad language started.
That was a pretty good one.
I never used to swear till I had children.
Try having 6 of them.
Or a puppy.
No, puppies aren't like children.
What are you talking about? When you have a dog, you have a toddler for as long as that dog lives.
No, you don't.
You can't rub a toddler's nose and shit. You know? No.
Can't do that to a dog.
Speaking of which, I'm potty training. Yeah.
Now, see, the thing is, and people don't believe it, but dogs are spiteful. If my dog feels like you left him, he will go to a certain spot and urinate, no matter what.
So they're not much different than cats then.
Yeah. They get spiteful. If I had to explain to my son, you did not put him on a leash. He's seen you go outside. He got upset that you didn't take him, even though I just walked him. So he went to a spot and he peed.
Sounds like my mother-in-law.
She pees on the floor too?
Grace died 15 years ago. How's it going on vacation? Yeah, you're coming in low.
He might be in a well.
No, you just sound like you're in a deep, deep pit.
He fell off the edge of the earth.
It's like he's 10 feet away from the mic.
Which, speaking of fall off the edge of the earth, that was a funny video by that kid when he when Robbie Davison fell hook, line, and sinker for it. What's that kid's name? The YouTube is.
About the guy who turned into a boxer.
Yes, the Paul brothers.
Jake Paul.
That was a funny video. I was laughing my ass off. What an idiot Robbie Davison is. I'm sorry. Mark Sargent warned them. Warned everybody.
Yeah, Mark Sargent did warn everybody about that. I will have no part of it. Jake Paul's bad guy. He'll screw you all over. Why are you doing this? And he was right all along, wasn't he?
Correct. And Robbie Davison never paid any of the security guards that were part of that whole thing that they did. What was that called? The convention? I got the goods on him.
I loved what he did. I think he was hilarious. Like the whole the Earth is Flat song. I love that song.
Hey, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
got you. Is that
Oh,
it?
what I was saying.
You just want
No, what I was saying that my comparison got thrown for a fucking loop whenever you guys oh, no swearing.
no swearing.
I was saying, yeah, I was saying that we could just recategorize the show. Just say, yeah, this is a false fictional show, and just to get in the good graces of the algorithm. I don't care about what society thinks or anything. Like you guys went straight to society. I was like, no, I just want to do it for the algorithm. Just to get in their good graces to where we can be promoted.
It's never gonna happen. Nathan's name is on. It's it. It's ringing bells. They know what he's about. They know what QE's about. These guys are flat earthers destroying the globe. They will have no love from our algorithm.
There's still people that are finding us, though, despite all that.
Yeah, but not from sharing. We share the show constantly. That's how they're finding us.
I found it pretty hard to find it.
Well, there's still a lot of people that know we're out here. And people out there, anti-flat earthers too, that have a lot wider audience, they mention us too. They're our
The
biggest
first thing I
advertiser.
find is Dave McKean says that Nathan Oakley thinks he proved flat Earth.
I keep encouraging that guy in his comments. Hey, keep the flat Earth going. Keep talking about us.
Don't forget, Eddie Bravo shouts us out all the time too.
Yeah, but that was one time though. But it, of course,
Any publicity is good publicity.
Get a bit
Well,
closer to
any
your mic, Gene.
mention will shock people out there because we're actively being hidden. So when they then get to hear of something they've never heard of before, they can feel that it's being hidden. It'll actually draw them in curiosity-wise even more.
The only downfall with Eddie Bravo is he's known as a conspiratard. So that gets used against him. Even Joe Rogan used it against
Yeah,
him.
any discussion, he kind of gets blackballed right away.
Yep.
I guess Eddie Bravo is like their Arwin.
Yeah. He tried to have that. Remember when he tried to have that conversation with Alex Jones, and Alex Jones just didn't want to have it.
Nope. No, Alex is a full baltard. Pretty incredible. But he still like allows it. Like if people want to talk about it, he allows that. But like he just will not take it. It's like no, no, no. It just goes, he locks up when you start about it.
Some new chick on TikTok talking about astrology and shit. I mean, astrophysics and shit. We should review a video of hers.
No swearing.
That's actually not a bad idea. There is this girl. I don't know if that's the same girl. She's kind of young, maybe like 27, 28, constantly going on Facebook, TikTok, whatever, talking about how the Earth is definitely not flat, and she has these proofs. It'd be good to it. Maybe it might be a good idea to attack a girl because you'll get, white knights running over to defend a girl and all that stuff.
Attack? Well, what's it?
Well, you'll attack the argument, but they'll see it as attacking her. Yeah.
Oh, me to address what she would be talking about? And that's attacking?
Yeah, like attack it. Yep.
Everyone's gonna take it as an attack.
Yeah, she's like the new face. I don't know. She's like the face of NASA. Like now, I don't know. She's all over the place. Maybe you're referring to the same girl. You could share one of her videos and see if that's the same one.
Yeah, the age seems right around like 27 years old. She's talking about all this stuff.
She looks like she's maybe like of Jewish descent. Like she's got a kind of longer nose.
God damn, get racist all of a sudden.
Yeah, she's probably Jewish. I don't know.
It's okay to be racist, just can't cuss.
Thank you for killing the conversation, Gene.
So is anybody going to post a link
every time I talk, somebody barges in.
Gene, are you gonna put that video up? I want to see if it is the same girl.
All right, let me get a link.
Yeah, she put. I mean, the ones that I've seen, right? She'll pretend as if like she's addressing, genuinely addressing like the flat Earth argument, but just for like a second, she'll be like, she'll say something like, "Is it really a globe? Like people have doubts. Let's take a look," and then she'll like, go through how it's definitely a globe by showing some terrible, making some terrible argument for it.
Don't they all do that?
Yeah, but she's for some reason. I have maybe it's the same person, maybe it's not, but I want to see it's popping up. Like I guarantee, if it's the girl that I'm talking about, I guarantee she's going to start, garnering the attention of bigger and bigger names.
So she would definitely ignore us then.
She may. That's what I'm saying. She may, but the white knights, who are going to perceive what you're doing as an attack on a young, impressionable girl, will not. They will not stand for it.
Wow. So somebody talking about astrophysics, that's an impressionable girl?
Just accept reality for what it is, Arwen.
She's like telling the stories. I mean, like what?
Keep yapping her jaws over there. She bring her ass here with it. She gonna have to have about several white knights. Ain't gonna be no sympathy, empathy, or leniency.
I found her.
Female, old, young, whatever. You come up on here with that, expect to, walk into a wall.
Where's chocolate at?
Where'd I post it?
Well, somebody posted a Master B, if possible.
I posted it in the main text chat. Her name is Skylar. Astrophysics name Skylar.
So where did she run her mouth most at? TikTok or something like that? I know there's this one girl that goes live all the time. She has this monotone, put you to sleep, little shrill voice.
No,
Always
this
seems
one's a
like
little
she's
more lively. Her
composed.
name's Skylar, and the link is right there. Is her TikTok thing. It's Philly the Space. Foul the Space. I don't know her channel name.
I guarantee you.
Check it out.
I guarantee when I look at it, it's probably here. I'm gonna go look right now.
Philly Deli space.
This is not the same one that I was.
Not the same
thinking
one.
of,
Yeah, not
but-
the same one I was thinking. The one I'm talking about is blonde.
This one's a little more curvy though.
I suggest we do the next review on her specifically to bring out the knights.
Get it straight. You want us to attack a popular female TikToker or videographer of some description simply to bring out the white knights to defend her? Is that what you're saying?
Oh no, I mean no,
Yeah, but
I don't want to do it for that reason.
not
I don't want to do it
one.
specifically for that reason. But if they want to come, let them come because they, according to what he said, they got her back. But if she's reaching
Well, yeah,
a
I
populace,
would say do it for that specific reason. Definitely, like there's a reason that Neil deGrasse Tyson is pushed forward in current modern times because Neil Tyson's thoughts matter. So.
I just say that she's reaching a populace and she's influential and she's moving up the ranks, then she's worthy of a review. Just like this guy that looks like, William Nye, the science guy.
Every video, she's wearing less clothes.
Okay, so she's really marketing herself. Okay, I ain't mad at her. I ain't mad.
I don't like this girl
I love the
because
term
this
spaghettification, which is
girl-
what happens to you if you fall into a black hole. But how do we actually know that that's what would happen? We haven't fallen into any black holes last time I checked. Spaghettification is an example of what we call a tidal force, and we see tidal forces all the time.
So, because you see tidal forces, you're saying spaghettification is real? Now, spaghettification is described within Einsteinian fourth-dimensional pseudo-geometry, my love. Maybe you were unaware of that.
They show up because the gravitational fields aren't constant.
Gravitational what now? Again, described in a pseudo-geometry.
They vary depending how far away you are from the source of the field.
Really? The variation of gravity? What, this non-force described in pseudo-geometry? How can that vary in physical reality? Oh, it can't. This sounds like an elongated process of reification.
Here's an easy way to visualize tidal forces. This is the Earth down here, and we've got a
Sorry, why am I visualizing tidal forces when you could be showing us spaghettification?
bunch of balls up above the Earth's surface, and they're arranged
Are they?
kind of like this.
Really? What, like gas particles above Earth's surface, obeying entropy, spreading out, leaving everybody dead? What kind of balls are these?
If we drop them all at the same time, they're all going to feel a pull of gravity, but the gravity...
Really? What about the gas I just described? Does gas have the pull of gravity working upon it? Or does gas expand in all directions? Sounds like this chick doesn't know what gas is, or how gas behaves, when she describes little balls all moving towards the centre of Earth? No. What's this chick's name? Fiddledy Space?
Skylar, like the sky.
Skylar? Skylar, you don't know what you're talking about. You're describing these concepts that first and foremost have been derived by flat planes, and then reifying them into physicality, describing how, gas go down, go boom boom to the centre of Earth? Oh dear, no, gas behaviour defies this force of gravity you're about to reify.
Gravity's going to vary for each ball. The ball at the bottom is going to feel a stronger force down compared to the ball at the top.
Really? So you're saying gas go down, go boom boom? No, definitely not. You see, gas would defy this utter tribe.
And then the ones at the side are going to be angled in slightly. So as a
when gas behavior is that it moves randomly in all directions. I'm thinking not, love. No, there's no gas moving to the center of your ball Earth bullshit.
balls fall, they're going to go from this shape to this shape, just due from the different gravities that they experience at these points. Now, these are all separate objects, but we could still consider them to be one solid thing, and you would see the same effect. Imagine we have a moon, and that moon is moving closer and closer to its planet for whatever reason. As it gets closer, we're going to have a...
No, this works outside the context of orbital motion, which is derived from a flat plane. This girl has got absolutely no idea what she's babbling about, has she?
much stronger gravitational pull at the bottom of...
Right, gravity is not a force. George Musa, Scientific American. What's this chick's name? Skylar? Yo, Skylar! George Musa, you might want to go and have a little chat with him about gravity not being a force. Oh, what's that? This chick's only educated to a high school level, so is now describing and reifying gravity as a force when it's a bent space-time in fourth dimensions invented by Einstein. Why are you describing how much of something when it's not a force?
That's what I was going to ask, Nathan. Shouldn't she be describing how the bending of space-time is causing all of this?
She's only educated to a high school level. She thinks she's being clever. She thinks she's detailing pseudo-Riemannian force space-time bending when she describes how much force affects the moon. It's not force. She's just a bimbo.
Of it than the top. And as this thing is orbiting around, it's actually going to get sheared apart.
Sorry, orbiting? This motion described by way of a derivation of a flat plane measurement? No, what you're guilty of, bimbo, is reification. Long word, huh? Maybe look it up.
Ripping apart of moons is what can form rings, and it's actually going to happen to Mars down the line as it's...
Is it? That sounds like a baseless assertion based on a reification derived from an R value that's been put into motion in an orbit that's come from a flat plane?
Moons are moving closer and closer to the surface.
Show me. Prove it.
We do see these sort of tidal impacts all the time.
What, with gas? Do we see tidal impacts with gas that's dispersing in line with natural law? Second law of thermodynamics? Something you just defied with your little diagram. And your force of gravity that's been out of date for 108 years. Yeah, are you that far out of touch with the reality that you don't even know what gravity is for you to describe and quantify how much of it there'll be? It's not a force, my love.
Spaghettification is just an extreme version of this. Because a black hole's gravity is so strong, you don't have to be...
Strong? What, like a force? The strongness of a black hole that's been described through the reification process of taking an orbital motion derived from a flat plane and then having Neil deGrasse Tyson tell you what lensing effects will happen when describing light and its gravitational attraction within a bent 4D space-time, and how that'll affect what you see through a telescope. It's absolutely sad.
As big as a moon in order to have big differences in the force from
The size of the moon is derived also from flat plane measurements. R-value derivations. Christian Huygens superimposing the size of a presupposed spherical Earth derived from a flat plane onto Venus in line with your orbital motion that came from Kepler. This is so far over your head. About as high over your head as your hand's showing right now, love. That's how far over your head this is.
One side of you to the other. Just a single human will feel those tidal effects.
Really? And we feel gravity that's not a force? So it's comparable because gravity's not a force? Hasn't been for 108 years. How's this comparable? This sounds like the rantings of a bimbo. You think that'll get the white knights in? Is that what you were hoping for? Just asking from the peanut gallery.
I should also note that we've observed this sort of spaghettification thing happening as stars fall into black holes.
So the black hole concept derived within the pseudo-geometry of Einstein, we've observed that? No. The mathematical conception has been described as what is being observed through telescopes. That's very different.
See them show up in simulations like this, where this is a...
Oh, they black holes in pseudo-geometry show up in simulations? Really? So what?
Star that has been spaghettified.
No, it isn't. You've just told me it's a simulation, you daft cow. That's not a star doing anything. It's your little computer program. You understand the difference there? when you say it's a star being spaghettified? No, it isn't, because spaghettification takes its lead from a pseudo-geometry with a fourth dimensional space-time being bent by the uneven distribution of mass, which is not a force. Yeah? Are you getting this down, love? Have you got a pen?
We can't see anything this detailed when we actually look at the universe because...
But you didn't. You looked at a model, a simulation. You didn't look at anything. You didn't even fall for the folly of the reification that all of these pseudo-geometries are derived from. That's looking at things through telescopes, not simulations, love.
Nathan,
the telescopes don't have the...
Yes.
Wasn't it a thing that black holes technically only are calculated and described on a 2D plane because they can't get it to work any other way?
the resolution, but we can detect changes in brightness and surface area from events as stars get torn apart like this. So they...
Like what? Like in your simulation? No, stars aren't being torn apart. You're looking at little twinkling lights in the sky, love. Your description within your simulation of how they get torn apart because of how Einstein has described them in a pseudo-geometry has absolutely no bearing on what's being observed in the sky by way of the descriptions they ascribe to it that you have basically regurgitated. Well, you've regurgitated the surface puke that you lapped up, love, but it just made you look very stupid.
There you have it. That's how we know.
No, it isn't. You don't know anything. You're ignorant. Have you enjoyed that?
Edit that out.
But that's what it is. They are ignorant, right?
Sounds like just another Becky.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. I thought it was.
I got a guy who looks exactly like Arwen.
That's a pretty good insult. You're as dumb as Becky.
Hey, I got another guy who looks just like Arwen that does the same thing.
You're supposed to poke the bears now. You're supposed to poke those white knights you were talking about.
No, that was what's the name? The guy sounds like John. I just posted another TikTok link. His name is Evan Horizon.
No, bloody jukebox.
Even Horizon.
Now you've got to now react. You've got to go.
Even Horizon.
How dare you attack a white woman?
You're getting there slowly. Not quite.
I'm sorry, I'm not a white knight.
Isn't about race.
What do white knights say?
Same as the black ones. We're almost there with the how dare you attack this woman when she is.
That's all I got, man. I have no simp in me.
In a sarcastic tone. Ah, forget it.
Did you see the other one I posted?
I'm suggesting, as you suggested, that the whole point of me doing that would be to enrage others who support her in her heliocentric endeavors.
Well, you got to cut it out and post it.
Maybe I can help you. I bet she doesn't understand science.
Hold on, but Gene's just in the middle of giving me a few lists of things to do, aren't you, Gene?
I didn't say that.
Cut it out and post it.
Okay, we'll just hide it here 2 hours deep into a
You're missing my
flat
point.
Earth chat.
What am I going to trim out? You moaning about me not trimming it out? You serious? You're supposed to comment. It's got like blood out of a stone. Hello? You've asked me to react to
No,
a
that
specific
wasn't
individual.
that wasn't my idea. That was what's his name's idea. I don't know where he is now. He left.
Oh, my bad.
I'm right here. I'm
No,
at
the
work.
other guy.
It's hard for me to.
My bad. You all sound the same to me.
God damn it! I'm not even black though. How do I sound like?
Nice one.
It was a joke. It's supposed to be ironic.
Yeah, you'll get it one day, Gene. You'll get it one day.
There's something there. There's something there, Nathan, that makes you get confused. There's something there. I can't figure it out though.
Well, I get him mixed up with Adam sometimes when Adam's sober. I mean, they sound kind of like.
I'm trying to, like, blood out of a stone, get your reaction to, now we've addressed one of the videographers. I'm sure there's more. Yes, there's Evan too.
But I'm glad you did that though. But I didn't mean today. I mean, I'm flattered that you decided to take a suggestion from me. But I want you to do it on the live so that the YouTube people can be involved and the chats can open up. That's what I wanted. Maybe they would have served
like
more.
we're live in front of 100 people. Daft cow.
Oh, that was wonderful. Okay, well, let's do another one, as obviously it hasn't generated that much discussion.
So if the universe is expanding, why is the Andromeda Galaxy headed straight at us? Well, it's because...
What? The sky's coming straight for us? Holy crap!
Because cosmic
Be afraid. Be very, very afraid.
It's coming right for us.
Expansion is only significant on the very largest scales. Our solar system is not expanding. Our galaxy isn't expanding. Not even the cluster of galaxies that we're in, along with Andromeda, is expanding. All of these structures are bound, held together by gravity, which, on scales as relatively small as these, is strong enough to hold them together in spite.
Whoa. Strong enough? God, another complete bimbo.
Uh-oh.
Hello, you daft cow. Gravity's not a force. Bloody stupid woman.
Spite of the overall expansion of space. And the local motion of galaxies within clusters is still dictated by the mutual gravity felt between them. Andromeda is destined...
Right, do they feel it like it's a force? Professor Brian Cox, there isn't really a force of gravity at all. End quote, Professor Brian Cox. So what are they feeling? What are they fondling?
Yep. And also, I'd like to know what's this evidence of an actual moving galaxy? He was talking about moving. Is there any actual motion that's ever been associated with that? Or they did just model it that it's supposed to be moving?
Hey, you guys see his page? He actually responds to like every comment. He responds with a video and I guess try to prove himself right. So we should do one on him.
We are.
To collide with the Milky Way because the two galaxies are gravitationally attracted and falling into one another. It is only...
Attracted? What, like mass attracting mass? That sort of attractive force. George Musa, Scientific American. Gravity is not a force. What is it with these idiots? Why don't they understand their own rhetoric?
On cosmological...
You missed the part, Nathan, but you could think of it as a force. Very important part of it.
It's probably the platform.
Scales. We're talking the space between galaxy clusters that cosmic expansion really takes over. So if the...
Garbage. We're dealing with numpties regurgitating surface heliocentric puke. This has existed long before Flat Earth. This has nothing to do with Flat Earth. This is just some gimp talking about nonsense that he's regurgitated, that he's learnt about heliocentrism. Badly. You know what I mean? There's no bearing on us.
Yep, he sucks.
What's this? No center, no edge.
The universe doesn't have a center or an edge. It's not a...
Really? Well, how come we can describe Earth in a geocentric manner when mapping and navigating the Earth? And what we use to do that is wrapped around us in the form of the celestial sphere. Now, that is something that has a practical application, in terms of how we physically negotiate the ground that we are standing upon. I'd like him to give me any practical application for his spinning balls in sky vacuums.
Not expanding from any particular point, and the Big Bang didn't happen at a specific...
The Big Bang was just invented by a dude called Lemaitre. It's just an idea. It's just a little story. It didn't happen at all. It's invented by a dude.
Sorry. In the 20th century, very late. Like before that, there were different ideas. Nobody ever talks about that on the ball side.
Specific location. The center of the universe is everywhere. The universe is expanding from everywhere, and the Big Bang happened everywhere.
So, did this dick just not tell us that it's not expanding?
Well, he's saying that the Big Bang wasn't a point. It happened everywhere, apparently.
Big Bang is a first law of thermodynamics violation.
Right, but he's basically saying that the Big Bang isn't the Big Bang because if it would be happening everywhere, it's not going to be the Big Bang.
Yeah,
now,
I
is
get
it?
that. After we decide that there is a Big Bang, okay, let's just rewind for a second. You say this guy responds. Okay. Explain how you get around the first law of thermodynamics violation that the Big Bang is before you start telling me what it is or isn't. Get around the first law of thermodynamics violation. Do that for me. Evan. Yeah? Big Bang, first law of thermodynamics violation, go.
According to the cosmological principle, the universe on the largest scales is homogeneous and isotropic.
Meanwhile, everything we experience is inhomogeneous in terms of the gas that we actually experience around us in the known existence of our universe. That would be to say that anisotropic, inhomogeneous gases is what we actually experience. Yet you're saying that we have a homogeneous universe. That sounds like a second law of thermodynamics violation. At what point did it become homogeneous? Isotropic is not what we experience. Anisotropic is how we experience gases. Inhomogeneous is how we experience gases. This crap about what we look at through the lens of a telescope to then describe it as homogeneous is garbage.
Fancy way of saying that it looks...
Maybe he's going by the model of it all being fluids, right?
I don't know.
So he's thinking of all the gas like liquids, and then perhaps they could be homogeneous. It's all messy.
Sounds like a second law of thermodynamics
But then they're
violation.
not gases then.
Yeah. It sounds like a second law of thermodynamics violation.
the same in every direction from all locations. Take any sufficiently large chunk of the universe and it looks pretty much identical to any other. Look in any direction from anywhere and you'll see roughly the same thing. On the grandest cosmic scales, there are no
What? You're telling me that if I look at a section of the sky, it looks basically the same as another section of the sky? Utter shite! The fact that you can define features in the sky has helped us navigate the ground! You're telling me it all basically looks the fucking same? How the fuck did we ever navigate with it then?
He's even saying it that on the other side of this claim to be universe, everything looks the same on the other side of the universe, according to him. So it's the most nonsensical thing I've ever heard a baller say. I don't know what kind of drugs that guy is on, but
actually inaccurate. If the stars all basically look the same, they would have absolutely no practical application to save your life at sea with celestial navigation. Celestial stars? No, they don't all look the same. They've got very discernible points that move with patterns that we can predict to save our bloody lives with. To just fly in the face of that and say, oh, it all looks the same. What?
special places or directions that are distinguishable from any other.
What about north? What about Polaris? Polaris not special? Doesn't move and you use it to define how you move around the ground. It's used to define your maps. It's a very specific location. It's very special, we could say. So given that you've just described no special places, and I can give you 1,000 maps that utilize Polaris, that makes it pretty fucking special, doesn't it, dipshit?
Cosmic vantage points are equal. And that...
So you're saying Mars is equally useful as Polaris? I'm going to go with no. I'm going to go with Polaris being, let's use a word I don't typically describe stars with, special. Yeah, just because it pisses in your face.
That has profound implications.
It's just wrong. Yeah? This is me standing pissing in your face with how wrong you are. With Polaris.
It means that the universe...
Doesn't mean anything. The guy's a dick. Now, Gene, this is where you don't tell me how I need to cut it up or edit it. It's how you react to my reaction. That's what you do now. Right?
LOL.
Alternatively, 10 straight seconds of dead air is just as good for all the enthusiasm I just put into a link somebody's just specifically asked me to react to. Or me moaning about it could be talked straight through. That's just as good.
We're just soaking in the stupid. We're just baffled. And there's more videos in Master B.
I'm not a jukebox. I need... Right. Bloody hellfire. Next video is not what I'm looking for here, Arwin. No, I'm not a jukebox. Maybe some reaction to what you've just heard? No.
Yeah, he's a total buffoon. So, like, I don't know where the hell he's gone, but, like, he's not talking about our universe anymore, whether that's heliocentric or real. He's not talking about any of that anymore.
Well, I will leave him a nice comment.
Again?
I said I'm going to leave him a nice comment stating we have reacted to his video with an open question.
Is this the one we just reacted to? Astro Alexandra.
Somebody posted that one. I got another one about
Let's
the
just
guy.
try that once more.
It looks exactly like him.
Let's try that again. Is this the one we've already done?
No, this appears to be another daft cow. This is
There's
not
currently a leak
Skylar.
on the International Space Station, and this news is breaking right now.
No, there isn't. A leak would infer that there is a pressurized system floating around our head in a sky vacuum. Now, there is a light we call the ISS, but the stage show that they show you on the telly, what, they've got a leak on the Enterprise, because that's what you might as well be saying. There is no men floating around in an orbital motion around a sphere planet as is derived from a flat plane to infer that the International Space Station stage show has got a leak. We're off to a very bad start.
I don't have all the information, but
You don't have any information. You're completely ignorant. You're a total bimbo.
we do know some
Sorry, you don't have any information, but you do know stuff. No, you don't.
things. Russia's space agency.
No, you're now gonna, again, like the last total bimbo, regurgitate up the surface puke you lapped from the internet. That's what you're about to do. So you don't have any information, but what you can do is regurgitate surface puke.
Roscosmos said that they suffered a leak from the backup cooling system on their module attached to the ISS.
And from Nathan Oakley source, Narnia reported lower than ever oxygen levels. The trees aren't doing their job in Narnia. We don't have any information, but we do have a very reliable source called Nathan Oakley, who said oxygen levels depleting in Narnia.
This cooling system is meant to regulate onboard temperatures for astronauts and for the science. So now...
No. There are no temperature regulations on spaceships floating around in sky vacuums. Let's take a picture of what she's got on screen now. This would be 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum. This is claimed to be a high-pressure gas. Now, do you know what happens when you put a high-pressure gas next to a vacuum? The gas fills the space. So if this was real, this little stage show that you've just decided without any information is completely true because you read it yourself, then we'd all be dead. This picture is a violation of the second law of thermodynamics. Gas fills space. We'd all be dead if this was real. The sky is not a vacuum.
NASA astronauts went to some of the windows.
Liars who claim to be in a sky vacuum. Like, if they said they were going through the wardrobe to Narnia, that would make them liars. If they say they're going into a second law of thermodynamics violation, that makes them liars. You just don't have very much discernment, love. When you said you'd got no information, what you meant to say was, I have done no research. That's what you meant.
On the ISS, and they could visually see that there.
No, they couldn't. Why are you describing from a third-person perspective something that you've regurgitated, that you lapped off the internet, the surface puke of heliocentrism? That's what this is.
Was a leak coming from a radiator on that module.
Really?
Yeah.
Did the gas come out of the ISS and into the sky vacuum, leaving them all in danger? What about all the people on this blue bit here? Aren't they in any danger? What's retaining all of the high-pressure gas in this blue bit? Because in the ISS, in your sky vacuum narrative that you're puking back up at us, right? You've got a container holding the gas, and apparently there's a, emergency because the gas might be leaking into the vacuum. Yeah, that's what would happen to all of this gas down here, love. This would all bugger off into space too, because it's got no containment.
So far, nobody is sure how much coolant leaked, what caused the leak, and how long it's been leaking for.
What caused it? It would be caused through a process called entropy. It's also known, my dear, as the second law of thermodynamics. That's how you would describe the gas vacating from the containment of the ISS in your sky vacuum into the area of volume that all of the gas below on Earth would also fill. Gas fills space. And check it out, your story is all about the gas filling the space, with absolutely not a hint of irony while there's a high-pressure gas claimed to be directly below it. So the gas from the ISS is filling the sky vacuum, but this gas below, that's all right. It's going down, go boom, boom. What a total idiot. Get some discernment, love. Learn what the second law of thermodynamics is while you describe how gas fills space from the sky vacuum ISS in orbit, but isn't doing it from the ground below. Dumbo.
Do they even hear themselves when they speak?
Yes. But I'd like to remind everybody that it's not that big a deal. I mean, let me quote Don Pettit, right? When there's a leak, there's a leak. It's not a big deal.
Mentioned this is the backup cooling system, and Roscosmos says that the main cooling system is working fine, so at the moment, nobody's in danger.
Nobody's in danger of entropy taking hold and taking
God.
away all the gas they're breathing. Nobody's in danger of that second law of thermodynamics. Inevitability. If gas were to leave the ISS and fill the sky vacuum. The ground below, how's that doing, love? All the gas, the yummy gas that I'm breathing right now, that's at high pressure. What's containing that? Is it not recognising the problem in your little story here, love? Clearly not. Go ahead, whoever that was from Discord.
I wanted to say something. Oh.
Okay, go ahead.
Right, so yeah, I've watched a lot of Hollywood movies that have space in them and all that, and usually when there's a leak, it's quite the event, right? And more than often leads to the total destruction of the entire ship. So yeah, I guess that on the Earth, it's not like that. It only works like that in movies.
3 for 3. 3 very stupid girls.
However, the crew on board did close shutters on windows on the US segment of the station to prevent contamination from the leaking coolant. Otherwise, there.
What? So, to prevent what? The dispersion of the gas into the availability of volume? Well, it sounds like entropic law's the problem here, isn't it, love? They've got to protect themselves against the entropy that takes hold. The gas spreading out into areas of volume it can fill. Like the sky vacuum surrounding the ISS. They wouldn't want to lose gas to that. Earth, meanwhile, How's it containing the gas? Obviously, the ISS just went through that sky vacuum via the pressure that we're all breathing that has no containment in this bullshit story. Is that really what you believe? Oh no, the gas might escape the ISS. Gas on the ground, perfectly fine. Don't worry about it.
There shouldn't be an impact to anyone or anything on the space station, but this is concerning. There's currently a leak on the
Garbage. Just bimbos. Bimbo number 2. Bimbo number 1.
Yeah, there's leakage, all right. Gone mad. There's another guy named Minute Man. He's actually addresses the horizon and all this stuff. Checking out his video.
Right. And besides, if there's a leak, it's just like a ship, right? I mean, you just take buckets of the spilled in vacuum and you throw it back out of the ship, right?
No, if there's a leak, there's a leak.
Yeah, that's right. And then you get the buckets to get the leaked in vacuum and throw it out of the ISS again, right? Because it's a fluid.
In any immediate danger, are we? It's all okay. But simultaneously, death might be imminent. But there's nothing to worry about. It's one of those kind of double speaky nonsenses that take places in Narnia.
Well, there's always a danger of completely losing track and panicking and then basically getting your, I don't know, like getting an aneurysm from anxiety or something. You could do that, or you could just think that it's all safe. It all depends on where you want to go with it.
You think there's ever a danger of them realizing what they are saying? Or they're just going to keep saying it and not even realizing it?
I'm sure we've discussed this many times before, but there's, you know what Dunning-Kruger is? The Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. Don't ask me to freaking recite it, but I know what it is.
Well, I'll just give you an example. It's the guy who stands outside the university hall, having done no revision, having done no work, and the teacher says, "How do you think you did on the test?" He goes, "Aced it. Absolutely no worries. Gonna do brilliantly." That's Dunning-Kruger. In other words, you don't know how stupid you are. You don't know what you don't know, so you can't know how stupid you are.
So that's what it is, Dunning-Kruger?
Well, more specifically, the overestimation of one's own abilities in the regard to my example. It's the guy who thinks he's done well. A little knowledge is a dangerous thing is a similar sort of sentiment, right?
Yeah, but she's talking about gases contaminating a certain section. Well, what about everything else? When is the penny going to drop?
Probably never.
But the force of gravity, that isn't really a force, but you can think of it as a force, somehow pulls it back, right? And the ISS doesn't have that mass, so yeah, it can't do that.
Yeah, again, back to Dunning-Kruger. When they hear this, all three of them simultaneously have a cartoon light bulb appear over their head. Ah, there's a magical gravity that will get me out of this problem. What, like you've all attempted to utilize already? You bent geodesic in 4D spacetime? You pseudo-Riemannian geometry? They all think it's a force. Clearly, every three of those last videographers has not progressed beyond high school physics. Right, yeah, there they are, making videos, telling you about how the world is the way it is. The audacity is off the charts. But this is positively encouraged.
Yeah, but Nathan, it's also because if you don't think of gravity as a force, then how the hell are you going to try to describe all these things?
You can't.
Except through boring math.
You can't.
You
can describe the measurements that are taken to give you the gravitational or the orbital motion. But you'll be describing Earth as a flat plane when you do so, and automatically precluding you from reifying it into the actual ground you're standing on being spherical, or the world you're standing on moving in an orbital motion. When you understand how those derivations come from a flat plane in the first instance, you understand implicitly that it is impossible to reify that into the surface. You can't do it anymore.
All right. Now back to that Dunning-Kruger. Do you think that that was happening to that guy? Who was the one that was just started shaving while on the video?
That was George.
Netanyahu. You mean George?
Yeah. So I think that the penny was dropping and he just couldn't handle it, and he just started doing absurd things.
That's why I was talking to me. I have that effect on people.
There's a comment on one of the videos that says, I was engaged to a flat earther. We fought for 3 days because he wouldn't admit the Coriolis effect existed.
The flat earther couldn't admit that the Coriolis effect was real, but it is real. It's a real effect. It just doesn't happen on a globe Earth that's turning, because we're not on a globe Earth that's turning. If we was, we'd have Coriolis effect from the globe Earth that's turning. But Coriolis is real. It's just not a globe Earth effect.
When was your wedding date?
I don't know. Somebody just commented that.
Sorry, Nathan. He said he was engaged to a flat earther.
It's
for
a
3
girl
days.
saying, I was engaged to a flat earther. We fought for 3 days because he wouldn't admit Coriolis effect existed.
Yeah, no. Well, so when was the big day?
You were engaged with a flat earther, not to a flat earther.
I'm going to comment that. So when's the big day?
I love it. Let's major on the engagement minors. The point is, to deny Coriolis effect is to be ignorant of what Coriolis effect is. Nobody here would deny that there is an effect called Coriolis effect that can be induced by you sitting on a roundabout, which would be your non-inertial turning reference frame, and watching a ball tossed over the top of it in a straight line, to see the effects of it appearing from your vantage point on the roundabout to curve, when it doesn't really curve. It's just you turning beneath. That's Coriolis effect. The globes claim to have that effect. So to say, well, Coriolis effect isn't real. No, that tells me that the person who's saying that assumes incorrectly that Coriolis is only a globe Earth effect, not an effect that is claimed to be exhibited by a globe Earth. They think it just is, oh, well, Coriolis is just a globe Earth thing, right? It doesn't happen. Therefore, Coriolis isn't real. Like, no. Coriolis is real. The globe Earth just doesn't have that effect. They claim we have 15 degrees an hour. That's Coriolis effect. A claimed deviation of the stars as you stand on a rotating Earth. Well, the claimed deviation, that's the stars seeming to move in a curved path, but they're not. It's you turning underneath because you claim to be on a globe Earth. That's the claim of Coriolis effect. But if that's true, flight times are reduced because they're in the inertial reference frame and you're turning beneath them. If we're going to have this effect of planes seeming to drift at 15 degrees an hour, that's their claim. We don't experience that effect. True. That doesn't mean Coriolis isn't real. I can still toss a ball over a roundabout, and if I'm sat on the roundabout and the ball isn't in any way connected to my turning reference frame, it's tossed over the top of it, from my vantage point, it looks like it curves, detailing the Coriolis effect. The not actual deflection of the ball as it moves in a straight line through the inertial reference frame observed by you in the non-inertial turning reference frame. That perceived curve isn't actual, but is the Coriolis effect. Real, just not applied to a globe Earth that's turning. We're not experiencing that effect. Right, I'm going to round out. With that, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams. Hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!